expert level, don't get scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forth, I can tear it down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down. Cut the fix up, with some Xbox babies, put the switch up. See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. We play on expert level, don't get scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forth, I can tear it down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down.
Hmm. How about now, guys? Can you hear me? And you all should be able to now because I see it actually moving here. Finally. Yeah, and it's feedbacking right now for me too. All right, there it is. Yeah. Thank you, Shooter. Thank you, G. Maybe. All right. How loud and clear are we still? Are we still loud and clear, everybody? Sorry about that. I had a new mic set up and everything like that. I had to make sure. Now, before we get going, you all can hear everything loud and clear, right? By the way, everybody with me, say something to make sure they can hear you guys as well. Ah, Bushido. Why? Oh, Shooter said just you. You all can't hear any of the guests? Say something, guys. Let me see something on this for this shows. Yeah, I see it too. It shows you all off. It doesn't show you on. What about now? Can you all hear them? Say something, guys. Let's see. Hmm. That's very, very weird. Let me see. That is so odd because it was already set up for you guys. I don't get why it wouldn't play through now. Let me try one more thing. All right, could you guys try saying something now? Let's see. Do you guys still hear them now or no? All right. Uh, all right, chat. Give me a minute. I'm going to try to fix this really quick, and yeah, just listen to the nice background music. We'll be right back.
Bad Mother that somebody just posted about July 12th, or did they say that?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
seeing in a Discord.
You got it? All right, cool, man. I'm going to back out. Have a great show, brother.
Check.
Hey guys, you all
Yo,
you all
yo,
hear us
yo.
now? And you see Jedi jumped in, and yeah, they can hear us
Oh,
now.
I can hear us.
Oh,
now.
So
all right.
OBS reset the settings, guys. Sorry about that. It
Mhm.
literally turned your mics to default, and I had to actually put your
Yes.
audio source back on. That's what the issue
Have a
was.
great show, bro.
Just
Thanks, brother.
FYI, sometimes it does that without an update. Just
Yeah.
so be wary of that.
Hell, technology. Damn you and
Mhm.
bless you at the same time. Sorry about that, everybody. Thank you all for your patience. I mean, this is not the first time. If you've been here, the fix is not just the name of the show. We fixing things on the fly, so you know. Hey, we appreciate you guys. By the way, I got the new mic set up and everything like that. What's up, Truly, my boy? Now, typically the point was that I was very, very low due to the old mic. How loud and clear am I rather to you all now? And let me know. But I guess I'll just say this. Welcome to the fix, finally. I'm joined here by my brother Daniel McGee.
Hello.
And we have our excellent community brothers and friends. One Bad Mother.
What is up, Umbra?
What is up, my brother? And we have Retri, aka Game
Yo.
Pass Daily. Yo.
What's good? Good to be here on this fine evening.
Absolutely. Happy to have you guys.
I'm glad I saw your message because I thought your show was at 9 and I
Yeah.
was going to be very, very late.
Yeah, I knew you would have popped up before that, so I was like, let me hit him up.
I would have. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Opium, let me start with you, and then we'll work our way up to Daniel after that. What have you been up to, brother? What's going on in your week? And I know you have something in the works, but I don't want to go into that until you do. But
Yeah, it'll be a minute before I get into that.
Yeah.
I'm taking my good old time to get into that. I'm going to enjoy the little bit of the summer before we get too far into the works. But other than that, man, besides juggling personal stuff and jobs, been just going through the backlog because once Starfield hits, the backlog is going
man.
to. You might as well just take it out and just take it out and bury it at that point, right? Because
man,
you're not getting back to it. So I'm going back to some of them are a little bit older games. I never beat Wasteland 3. I've been playing the heck out of that lately. And I'm probably going to try to finish off a few more RPGs. And yeah, that's keeping me busy, man.
These RPGs, man. I mean, now, Xbox is now the home of the Western RPG. I don't think we'll be getting through many games nowadays with as much.
No.
It's troublesome.
Speaking of which, did you all see the new info on Baldur's Gate 3?
Yeah, it sounds fucking awesome.
It sounds like you won't be putting that game down anytime soon. It sounds more ambitious than Starfield in some ways, as far as like dialogue and things of the nature. But we'll get into that later on.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Redfree, my brother, what have you been up to this week, and what's your plans? What's going on with you? And I know you and Web Dave got your show going this week. Unfortunately, you have Bushido appearing as a guest.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have told you that. Yeah. I told on you, Bushido. I said if you're gonna mess with Umbra tonight, I said you can get your revenge on Sunday with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got Kay Asante coming as well, possibly some other people this Sunday.
Nice.
So it could get really stacked. We're not sure. We're waiting to hear back from a few people. But me personally, been trying to. Well, I've been listening to this stupid FTC case for one. Been spending like 6 hours. I've spent like at least 24 hours listening to this crap. I don't want to have to do that, but I have to. But outside of that, on the gaming side, I've actually been playing a lot of Diablo. Trying to upgrade my sorcerer. She's way behind. You guys had a head start on me, so I'm way behind on that one. And I started watching One Piece, as you gentlemen know. I said I'm already coming back around to it. I said this might be the first anime that you guys have recommended that I don't like, but you know what? I'm already changing my mind on it. I binged it. I binged it.
Are you starting? Is it starting to grow on you now?
It's already, yeah. In the beginning, I was finding the main character a little annoying, and honestly, you coming around? Yeah, so yeah, I'm coming around to that one.
One Piece really is one of those shows where you get out what you put in. So it's very much just like every episode you get a little bit more in love with it. for the most part. There are bad arcs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the 10th episode, but I'm already coming around. So I think that's pretty good because I think you guys, I think Umbra said something like, well, it gets good around like the 30th episode. I'm thinking, motherfucker, I ain't waiting no
that's
30
the first,
episodes.
Because that's Arlong Park, I think.
Yep, it is.
Arlong Park is
Yeah,
the
that's
first,
exactly what
like,
he was saying. Yeah.
It's the first like 5-star arc.
I
But
agree.
like,
Okay, gotcha.
Where are you at now? Are you at like Baratier?
That's not sounding. No, right now I'm at the pirates that are coming to the island to
with
kill the
Usopp?
girl. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know how I don't know how you guys keep track of all these names. I'm literally, you probably watched it years ago. I just
haven't
watched it
watched
last
it
night and I already,
since
yeah, I don't know how
I
you do
was
that.
13.
It must be a
But
young
I'm
person
pretty sure
thing,
that
'cause-
island is called Syrup Island.
Is it
Question
Syrup
mark?
Island?
I think it's Syrup Island. Is that where he's from?
It's
And
not
there's the sheep guy whose
sounding
name
right,
is
but maybe.
his name is Mary, and then they don't worry
Yes. Jesus. And there's a guy, okay, the guy, you see the straight up ripoff of Michael Jackson in that arc?
about it. Jackson. Oh, you talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
Or the
Yeah,
Michael
what's his
Jackson
name, like
character?
Ringo or something?
100% is
Ringo,
Michael
something like that.
Jackson.
Is it
He's
Ringo?
doing
I
his
think it's
moonwalk.
Django.
He's got the
Django,
thin
that's
lips.
it. Yep.
Django. Yeah,
There's
1,
Django
2, 3,
Bushi and the guy
Django.
with the sword fingers.
Yep.
I don't know his name.
He's 100%
Yeah, the
a
butler.
Michael Jackson pastiche. if you will.
100%.
Not
You
even
would
a question.
And I
not-
know that because I was a huge Michael Jackson fan growing up.
Hey, I love him.
Get ready
Huge.
for that character to show up in like 600 episodes and you still be like, oh my god, it's that guy.
Who's
Good
that
to know.
Pokemon?
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. Sorry, I always, I love to talk about anime with you guys because you're so into it. So sorry if
Absolutely.
we went off on a tangent here, but
We were talking
that's
about
what
One Piece,
that's what I've been
Pete.
doing.
Yeah, we're talking about
Yeah.
One Piece, the anime. We're definitely going to expand more into talking about anime and things like that. We haven't really done it because we had so much gaming news, but
Yeah,
we do want to.
It's gonna be crazy for a while.
Absolutely, we want to do that.
When
for
you do,
sure.
let me know. And if
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to talk about a certain one, I'll go and watch it because I'm right
Absolutely.
now. That's all I'm watching. I can't. It's
Fair
hard to
enough.
watch anything else.
Absolutely, I have to bring you on. I know Bushido's a big anime fan too. This is why his name.
Oh, screw
is-
that guy.
I know, right? I might finally bring him through by then. I guess. Yeah.
Pull off the band-aid. I mean, you had Macbound on here a
True.
few times actually. So
Yeah, that's true. But I think I will say this to Bushido's credit. I think he has more of a breadth of knowledge, if you will, of anime versus Mac, at least from anime and manga.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but anyway, much love to everybody in the chat. If you all have not done so,
yeah.
please hit the like button. And if you haven't, also hit subscribe if you haven't done that. And of course, Daniel, what have you been up to, brother? What's going on with your week? And
Oh,
how's
man.
everything going?
So I spent last week throwing up,
Oh.
like pretty much all week. It was a cool time.
Yeah.
Spent like basically 5 days in the bathroom, which was great. But between that, because I wasn't really feeling like doing anything of particularly high investment, I played a bunch of indie games. So I played through like 6 games, I think, or like
Wow.
maybe at least 4.
damn.
Because I played through, oh god, what was it? I did The Gunk, which I remember nothing.
Did you
of.
like that one?
No, I don't think
Okay, it was boring. Yeah, not a fan.
It's kind of boring, but you know what? I
Yeah.
expected it not to be so grand, so it didn't really bother me
Yeah.
too much.
so. Yeah, like
So-
it was fine, I guess.
Set your
I-
expectations low. That's good.
It didn't do anything for me. I played both of the Coffee Talk games. So Coffee
Oh
Talk
my
and
God.
Coffee Talk Episode 2,
Wow.
Hibiscus and whatever, Butterfly or something.
I know people really like those.
They're a lot of fun. I don't know if I necessarily 100% qualify them as games because they're very much like
Yeah.
they're visual novels really, but without the choices, if that makes sense. Like you really are just like hitting X to continue the story, and then occasionally like there are different endings based on like did you mess up this guy's drink, but unless you're a complete blundering moron, you're not going to mess up his drink. So it's like I don't know. Like they'll be like, "Hey, I want something with that's like coffee but it's sweet." And you're like, "Okay, well I'm going to make coffee and put some honey in it." And you're like, "This is great. This is perfect, dude. Like this is what I wanted." So pretty simple games, but like a little bit they're fun. Like I like the cast. It's an interesting world. They do the storytelling in it, which is frankly like the only aspect of it of note, is really good. So it has that. I also played Ravenlock, played through that.
Good game.
It was pretty good. It's pretty good. Really short. I beat that in I
Yes.
feel like one sitting. So that one was fun. Really don't have anything to say about it.
For
Other
Ravenlock.
than I don't know why I put it off so long.
Yeah,
And
I
then
enjoyed Ravenlock actually. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah, you know, it's not going to be
Combat's
like,
repetitive, but
Very
I thought it was
repetitive.
the
Yeah.
art. I thought the art was very well done on that game.
Agreed.
it's not going to be a conversation that I like, or a game that I like talk about. I think a lot
No.
after this, but it was a game that I played and I enjoyed, and it was a good time.
Nice quick game. Yeah.
And then the only other two that I beat were Atomic Heart, which
Wow, good
weird
for you.
game.
I gotta get back.
What
to
a
that.
game!
I have
know
to
what I
get
mean?
back to that, man. I stopped like really
I
early.
did too because of bugs. I got stuck in a boss.
Oh, see, I didn't run into any
The
bugs,
twisting.
so I guess
yeah,
maybe it's
that's because
fixed.
it was yeah, it's been fixed for a while, but
Okay.
I stopped playing it because of the bugs. But yeah,
Okay.
I didn't love the game, but it
No,
was
it's not
kinda
like
pretty.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
really pretty, and it's,
Yeah.
but like every time that you're in the open world section, it just sucks ass. Like
Yeah.
whenever you're in like one of the dungeons
The
or one of the
robots
buildings or anything like
piss me
that,
off, dude.
that's great. When you're in the open world and everything just keeps respawning and it's a pain in the ass, and you have
Yes,
to
the
like,
alarm-
I have to like
the
go
alarm
and take
robots.
down these cameras, and then I have
The
to
camera-
find this
oh,
big
dude,
floating thing so I can
speak
bring it
on
down
it.
and then make them stop respawning. It's
Yep.
like that's just not fun. I didn't enjoy that, so I basically did just run from like one dungeon to another and then just do that because the dungeons are fun and the storytelling is really good.
agree.
But the open world,
I hate the open world in that game.
It was
Hate
just a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then I played Life is Strange Before the Storm, which is the prequel to Life is Strange, which is a game that I really, really love. And
Man, you were
unsurprisingly,
really
I
on
also
it. you
Yeah.
weren't joking.
no,
Yeah,
I was
it's
sick.
crazy, dude.
I was sick, and I was in battle mode.
I see.
And I played Before the Storm, really good, really fun. It's I don't want to spoil anything, but like the fact that they made me so invested and so in love with two characters who do not fare well in the first game is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Like the fact that me going into this prequel knowing the things that I know about these characters from the original game didn't stop me from becoming so invested and so in love with them. So good. So good. Don't Nod did an amazing job with the first one. Deck 9 did the prequel, and the fact that they were able to seemingly have like the same sort of like vibe and docs between both games is really impressive, and I highly recommend someone go back and play it if they haven't done it.
You know,
And then I watched a bunch of anime too, but I don't feel like I should get into all that.
If we
would
get
take
into
forever.
it, we won't ever get to
You
these
know-
other subjects. I
Yeah,
can tell you that
we
right
definitely
now.
will.
Yeah.
But I'll say, man, like I really, really loved Life is Strange 1 and the what was the other one that focused more on
The colors.
Chloe.
What the heck it was called?
what's it
Yeah.
colors?
Oh
That
my
one is
God.
Chloe. So okay, so Before
is
the Storm is the
Strange.
prequel, which
Before
is the
the
one I played.
Storm,
That's,
that's
where
the
you play as Chloe.
Yeah, that's it.
Chloe is only in Before the Storm. Well,
Right.
okay, there's like a cameo or something. in one of the
Right,
other ones,
right,
But she's
right.
only in Before the Storm in the first one.
Yep.
Life is Strange 1. Life is Strange 2 is about the Hispanic boys
brothers,
who
I didn't
think,
beat
Texas.
that one
I
by
haven't
the
played
way,
that one.
so I don't want to give too much on that. But
Yeah, and then there's also, I think Don't Nod. It's weird. Okay, so Deck 9 did everything, all of the Life is Stranges except the first one, because Don't Nod doesn't work for Square anymore. So their closest follow up to it was Tell Me Why, which was the game with the trans character, if you remember that. Yeah, that's exactly. I cannot not hear that song when I think of that game. Also a fantastic game. I just really like those style of games. You know, sometimes you're just in the mood to just like have some emotions.
I'm
Yeah.
with you on that. I'm with you. I mean, we're manly men, you know what I
You
mean?
just want to
But
cry.
sometimes you just gotta let it out,
Get the
fellas.
tissue.
You gotta let it
Yeah.
out. You gotta let those tears flow. No, I actually I didn't get a chance to play that either, man. I've just been kind of all over the place. And sometimes you know how it is. You all know. What's up, K. Asante? I see you out there. What's up, Red Wolf? Sometimes it's like when you have an itch for something to play, and sometimes you're kind of listless. You don't know what to play. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
or
all
you're-
have
That's
ever
why
had
it's
that.
so
Growing up for
hard
5
with
days,
Diablo.
you
Like
know what I
I
mean?
want to play. I just put in the chat. Like I'm dying to play Bramble and Fist.
Yep. Same.
Go get fisted, but
Yeah,
I can't do like it's so
Disgust
hard.
balls.
It's so hard to get. Sorry, that's what some of my guys were saying when I made a video on YouTube about fist. They're like, get fisted. I'm like, thanks, guys.
Fisted, dude. Are you sure that was a compliment?
I don't probably know. It definitely
it
wasn't.
doesn't feel like
Might
one.
have been,
No.
yeah, it might have been a
friends,
hoop rather
friends
to
do
say that
not.
to you.
Their friends are not here to compliment you. They're here to kick you in the teeth and put you down.
Friends don't let friends
But-
get fisted.
Exactly.
right.
I mean, I want to play those games, but I get like Diablo, and then I play Fortnite, and I'm just like, how do I
do you
stop?
balance
Like,
it?
it's so.
Mm.
How do
I
balance
forgot
that?
one. I also played The Quarry, which is
Oh, was
so
that good? I want to buy. That's on sale right now too. I think.
I think it is,
love
right.
those Dark Pictures anthology games. I know
Yeah,
that's
they're
not technically
awesome.
part of the anthology, but like we all accept that it's basically the same thing. So good, cast amazing. if you like those games, that's probably the best one of them right now.
Mhm.
So go and play that one.
Okay.
yeah, I've heard
definitely.
great things about that game.
Actually, it's weird because that's one of the games I actually watched an entire playthrough on YouTube for, The Quarry. And,
Oh well, I mean, it probably spoils it for you.
it
but,
does. It does.
but
Because
it's still good.
I figured I would never play it, so I was like, let me just watch it, and it was entertaining. I mean, there were some bad acting parts I thought, and it was, but
for sure.
visually it's gorgeous. I mean, they did a good job of capturing those actors and everything like that. But it does have like several different endings, like not even several, it's like many.
There's like
endings.
over a dozen. Because
Exactly.
there's every
Jesus.
permutation of like which characters die, which characters
Mhm.
survive. There's 2
Mm.
different achievements for 2 different lone survivors, which I
Yep.
don't think is usually the case. Usually it's like, oh well, we got Hayden Panettiere to play one of the characters, and everyone else is a nobody, so
Pretty
she's the
much.
sole
Right.
survivor.
Pretty much.
But yeah, in this one there's a couple different people who can be the sole survivor, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, look at Red Wolf said, K Asante,
Oh,
notice me,
notice me."
senpai. Notice me, senpai. Yeah, the Hoove brothers. That's right, truly. The Hoove brothers.
Yep.
That's right. That's what I call them. F.I.S.T. I actually am going to try that soon, though, Retro. I know you posted about that, too. And
Mhm.
Is that the one with the rabbit?
it is.
Yeah, it looks
Okay.
badass.
Every time I see it, I think of Bucky O'Hare. I don't know if you all remember
Yes.
Bucky. You
I
all
do
remember
not.
him? Yeah.
Yep.
But
Was
I
that
do-
before my time?
It was before your time, for sure.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
while ago.
Alright.
You might have been like a small child at that point, maybe.
Hold on, I'm googling him.
Maybe. Captain Bucky O'Hare. Who in the audience
Oh God,
remembers
no.
that? Yeah, he said, "Oh God, no." Yeah, he wasn't.
This is from the Dark Ages.
He was still a sparkle in your father's eye.
Oh,
I
no.
think my father was a sparkle in his father's eye.
Damn.
Ain't that
You
old?
hear that
Shit.
Obium? I know you know about it. Come on now.
Oh boy.
Captain
Boy.
Bucky O'Hare. He goes where no ordinary rabbit will dare. Okay, I'm sorry.
You remember the theme song?
I do.
Oh my God.
Listen. Don't you shame me. All right.
Is this where they got the idea for Sonic?
You know what? I don't know. I don't think it. It was.
I'm looking at it again. I don't remember. Was he always green? Was he green? I don't remember that. It's a
I
weird
think-
color choice.
You know what? I think he was, wasn't he? Because he was kind of
Maybe
like
he
an
was.
alien. That's right.
I
He
don't
was like
remember.
an alien robot.
That's
rabbit,
true.
Rabbit, I meant to say.
Yeah, gotta make him green, I guess.
Yeah, that makes some sense. Yeah. So, see, truly claims that he was born in '79, so he remembers that. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It truly is trans age. I don't know where he got these thoughts at.
There was a-
H.
There was a
Pyro
79?
remembers. Yeah, Pyro remembers him. Yeah, Bucky O'Hare. Anyway, though, but that F.I.S.T. is a Metroidvania style game, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love
Yep.
Metroidvania, so I'm definitely, and I saw some gameplay of it years ago, and I remember some of our Hoove brothers rubbing in our face, "Oh, you never get this on PlayStation," and now we got it into Game
We got it.
Pass.
Yeah.
Okay, I was really worried that when I googled fist game, something different was gonna pop up, but I did find it.
Speaking
I'm
of that,
surprised.
I was on TikTok the other day, right? Speaking of F.I.S.T. games and thinking something crazy. I'm scrolling
Okay.
through, and you know how they have the live section where you can see people playing games live or whatever and such.
Mm-hmm.
I came across this guy playing a game called what was it? It was
Not N64, Josh.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't.
No, he would have
You're gonna
recognized
say
Mario
Mario Kart. You might know this game.
It was this game.
Can you describe the game?
It was crowdsourced. It's basically like a Final Fight / Streets of Rage type game, right? It got updated visuals and everything like that. And it's this lady going through under boob hanging out and everything, right? And she's beating up these guys, but if they knock her down or grab her, they start going to Pound Town. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is allowed on TikTok? I was
TikTok.
stunned. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
TikTok should reconsider their terms of service.
They really should get,
We should
reconsider
look at
TOS, because they started giving it to this lady. I'm talking about, they took her to Pound. I'm not joking. If I can remember the name of it, I'll let you all know. But it was
Sounds like old school, like Double Dragon or something.
Are you saying I
Like the
shouldn't
side
Google
boob.
Pound Town? Is that not what it's called?
Don't Google Pound. Yeah, if you Google that, you'll probably, yeah. But
Okay.
you'll get what you're looking for. Absolutely.
You're gonna leave the show. If you...
Yeah. Then it's like, I gotta
I'm
step
gonna get
away for a
arrested.
moment. Right. No, but it was so weird and bizarre. And I mean, it was like clearly a violation of the TOS. They showed everything. I'm not
Gotta
joking.
be.
It was Truly said that I absolutely looked into it, Truly. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was showing
Horrendous.
everything, and it's like different scenarios depending on the enemy you fight. They'll do different things to her, And I'm like, but why is she willingly getting done like that and then fighting them after it? I just couldn't process it, but it was very, very odd.
Some people should just not be allowed to make video games.
Yeah. You know, other than that, though, it did look like the combat was really solid. That's the funny part.
Oh yeah,
It was a solid comeback. If
Yeah,
I
I
can
read it for
tag
the
you all
articles.
into it later, I'm going to show you. I promise you, it was like very funny. Like the combat was actually solid, despite the weirdity, the oddity, I guess, of her like giving up the box, as they would say. But anyway,
I don't
let's
like any part of this.
Pause. Yeah.
that's what they
Giving
say.
up
Hey,
the
giving
box.
up the box.
I
But
love
let's transition here. Sorry, audience.
I want to talk more about that. Let's talk about this box.
So, I'm wondering. We'll stick to the FTC to start off. Why not? Because
Sure,
it's
you
the relevant
want to do
news.
the
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're gonna do the news
little rundown?
breakdown. Yeah, you do that, and if there's something that you're missing, I'll definitely mention it. So
There's absolutely some that I'm missing.
yeah,
So I'll just run through a couple of really fast ones here, because most of these I don't think we're gonna have a ton to say. Number one, and the only one not about video games, is we got that Superman casting confirmed, and it's exactly the people I wanted. It's David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan. David
Terrible last
Cornsweet.
name. Yes.
It's
It is a terrible name.
It is what it is. It's about to be Kent, so it's it's
That's
better.
true.
and you did say
You married him
Ken
to that.
Cornsweet.
I remember that when you.
Yeah, oh, he's great. He's from, you might know him from Pearl or The Politician, or I don't know, a bunch of little things. This is definitely like his big breakout role, which I think is really good. I think it's cool to cast an unknown for Superman.
Was that Daniel? Was that
that
the one?
works.
Sorry to interrupt. Is that the one that when you sent us a video of the guy,
Yes.
me and Umbra,
Yeah.
that it's
Yeah.
him? Okay,
That's the guy.
all right, that's a good choice.
I
That's a
will
good
say
and then-
he has the chin for it. Like looking at
He's
him
great.
and
Yeah.
everything. He does kind of remind.
and
you
he's
of-
young, so you can use him. You can use
true.
him for
That's
a
true.
while,
And
which
he-
I'm a fan of.
He kind of
Yeah.
brings you up to the thought of a younger Christopher Reeve a little bit. I'll give
Yeah.
him that.
I
He
agree
does.
with that.
People, the only detraction I've seen from people, and it's mostly people who are upset that Henry Cavill doesn't have the job anymore, which like I'm upset about that too.
Yeah.
But the only negative I've seen is that he looks like a younger Henry Cavill, and it's like that is true, but also Henry Cavill looks like Superman. So he just looks like a younger Superman, and I think I'm fine with that. Rachel Brosnahan, who is Lois, is an Emmy award-winning actress, and she is best known, I think, at this point for Marvelous Miss Maisel, which is basically just if you take Lois and put her in what is it, the 50s, and make her a Jewish comedian, that's the character. Like she basically already plays Lois in a really popular TV show. So she's 100% going to do the job. And you look at them next to each other and they look great together. I'm really excited. This is exactly the casting that I wanted. So
Yeah.
I'm living right
You
now.
definitely, I do remember definitely you bigging him up. So that's interesting.
Really excited about
Kay
it.
Asante says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, he looks the part, but corn sweat, really." How do you?
Yeah, I mean,
how does he
basically,
spell his name? How was it spelled exactly?
Corenswet. So it's Corin's wet.
Oh man, that is. That
Yeah,
is
it's not a great last
that is an
name, but
unfortunate
he
last
makes
name.
up for it by being extremely attractive and talented. So
Yeah, the ladies will love
you
it.
know.
The ladies will love him. We'll make fun of him though. Oh,
when you're
corn
when you're
sweat.
up in the pearly gates waiting to get born, you get a couple of points to stat your character out in, and he chose to not put them into cool last name and instead put them into jaw that could cut diamonds.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I thought the lady they cast for Lois, I thought she had a pretty strong diamond chin too. by
Oh
the
yeah,
way.
Rachel Brosnahan.
Yeah.
She does have a very strong chin. I think she's gorgeous.
I think she's cute. I
but
just think she has a
she's an
super
extremely
strong
talented
chin.
actress
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
I mean, she's already got an Emmy, so.
Oh wow, I've never seen her in anything
Yeah.
that I can think of, and I saw that
She's
they
best
said
known from-
Corn Sweat here was in House of Cards. Somebody said, which I did love. At
I
the
think he
time.
was, but he was like a small. Or no, I think she was in House. No, I don't know. I don't know them from. I've never watched House of Cards. One of them was for sure in there.
Oh, I love her. Okay, I know who she. I had to look her up. Oh, she's awesome, dude.
She's
that's
really
good
good.
casting.
Really talented. Big fan of her. But in other news, sadder news, but also news that I think we already knew, is hey, E3's like dead. E3 2024 and 2025 have not officially, but maybe officially been canceled as per the LA City Tourism Commission, who effectively have just they didn't come out and say it, but there's like documents of basically what tourists should expect to see in LA in the coming future, and in 2024 and 2025 there is notably no E3. So potentially that could change. Things change all the time, but at least for right now there is no E3 planned for the next 2 years. So oops. I don't know. I feel like we all kind of felt like it was dead at this point.
Yeah.
So this is not like shocking news, but I will say, still kind of disappointing. Don't love it.
It is kind of sad. I mean, we've all been so accustomed, all of us, even everybody in the chat and everything. We've all been accustomed to E3. We've grown up on it, and it's like that Christmas in the summertime for us, right? I will say though, I thought Microsoft and even with Jeff and Sony doing their thing, all colluding, if you will, into this summer game fest, as he likes to try to brand them all into, and take credit for, that it makes it feel E3-ish still. We were just missing Nintendo, right? So we do kind of still have it loosely, but it is sad, man. It's an old staple. It's kind of sad to see it go out like that. Really, it really is.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. I always wanted to go, and I got literally the closest any human being could possibly get without actually getting there. In that I had applied to go to the one this year and was probably going to get accepted, and then it got canceled. So that's really cool.
Oh, wow.
There goes that childhood dream. Guess I'll die.
Maybe saying it's going to be renamed K3. Like
I would hate that. I would rather die.
Me too.
Hey guys, their E3 might be dead, but there was a Nintendo Direct this week, and there was some stuff in it. And it was kind of cool. I don't know if anyone has anything specific they want to say about it. The highlights are there's a Super Mario RPG remake, which is pretty cool because it's the only Mario game I've ever actually enjoyed. There's Mario Wonder, in which Mario gets really high and does edibles and thinks he's an elephant.
Wait a minute.
There's
What is that? That's in the game?
That's in the game. That's real. That happened. Yeah.
Oh, I thought somebody was joking when they said that.
No, that's like, remember in the one that was on Wii U, there was a power up where you turned into a cat. Now it's an elephant. That's all real. That's all real, baby. You can't make that up.
Wow.
There's also a sequel to Detective Pikachu. The 3DS Luigi's Mansion is coming to Switch, and so is Pikmin 1 and 2, and those were the highlights that I pulled out. I don't know if anyone had anything else. But yeah, the one about Mario getting really high and thinking he's an elephant hit close to home, because me and some friends in college went to a movie one time. I don't remember what the movie is, but on the way back, one of the people who I did not know, who happened to live in the same dorm as me, was super high in the backseat and kept yelling that we were being chased by a, like, the way he described it was some kind of like Jello elephant. So I was like, oh wow, this is just what drugs do. Is you just start seeing elephants everywhere. Dumbo was right, dude.
Wow, that's something.
That sounds like a great time.
Yeah.
Look, Mario people are really excited for it, and I'm happy for them. I just wish I cared about Mario, but I sure don't.
I got love for Mario. I just don't play it like I used to, man. It's kind of sad because I mean
I sold my
Nintendo.
Switch a while ago, so I don't even follow Nintendo anymore.
It's
but
the only
that's
console.
Is it because
It's the only
you sold
console
because
I
it's not
didn't
part
get.
of the high-end console market, and you didn't want to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, this is a piece of crap. It's
talk-
worse than the potato.
Sony
talk
was
What do I need
right.
this for? Yeah, so
They
Sony
made
was
me
right all
realize I
along.
was gaming on the wrong system. That it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know,
It wasn't for
yeah,
you.
It's not.
I drank
it's
the
not a-
Kool-Aid.
It's not a substitute in time you know, or anything.
Yeah.
You know, it must be for kids. So
You know, the thing
I-
is too is like we got more mature taste now. Not to shade anybody who still plays it, but I think we are.
I wish I
our
still
taste
had mine.
mature.
I regret it. I don't suggest selling yours.
Well, you know
like
they're gonna
I
have
did,
a
like
new one
moron.
anyway, so it's like whatever.
Right,
They'll have
and
a
I will
new
get
one.
that
Yeah.
one most likely.
That's what I'm waiting for exactly. And then I think the advent of like the what's Kay Asante always call it? Not the obelisk, the
Abacus.
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 The
Yeah.
abacus of these new handhelds.
That's how people used to do math when they were watching Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I was gonna say I'm surprised you know what that is, Daniel.
Oh,
but that was a
wow.
good dig, you son of a bitch.
I'm filing ageism charges against you soon.
I'm sorry.
But no, it's something.
I hope it's not online. You won't know how to do it.
That's Jedi.
I know how the
that's-
internet works.
That's my brother Jedi Knight Peter. He might not know. He'll be like, huh? Hold on. What's that, mate? What is? Okay, hold on. What does WWW stand for? You know, it
World
might
Wide
be
Web.
him. Yeah. No, but what was I leading to? Oh, was that all the ones you had, Danny? Because I have a few.
Oh no, I've got more.
Okay.
we've got the Annapurna Showcase that was today. We saw that there's a Blade Runner game that I think is the first in-house game being made by Annapurna, which is pretty cool. Annapurna, I trust them implicitly with the games that they make because they have a really good track record for publishing the games. So if they know what a good game looks like, theoretically, they should be able to make one. I guess, maybe. I don't know. Here's hoping. They also told us some stuff about Thirsty Suitors. Stray's coming to Xbox on the 10th of August, I think.
Yeah.
There wasn't a ton in it, but Annapurna is quality. So if you really like independent games, Annapurna is a good place to look for them.
They're very good for indies. And they got that Cocoon game and Bounty Star. I don't know if you guys saw the.
I know
was it
Cocoon.
Bounty
I
Star?
have no idea what Bounty Star is.
Yeah, it's like a mech. It's another mech game.
Cocoon
That
is
looks
going to
pretty
go
cool.
up against Starfield. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, in
Speaking
September,
of going
right?
up
Yeah.
against Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, which we will get to toward the end of this discussion.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, did you just want to throw it in now?
Yeah,
Because
no.
I don't have it on mine.
Well, you know what? I'll
but-
get to it in a second because I got some smaller
Okay.
ones to throw out, but that's insane that they moved that to September 6th as well.
Yeah.
What would they
Yeah.
expect? to see?
Whoa, I didn't
Some
hear
choices were
that.
made.
Are you kidding me?
No. dead
Well, isn't it
serious.
not launching on Xbox anyway?
Well, for now, because they can't get
Oh,
around
right,
the
it's
Series
not.
S limitations of the split screen.
Oh, of course.
Which to me
Yeah.
is just like drop the split screen. If it's what's causing an issue, drop the split screen for the Series S. We should not be held back on the Series X because of that limitation. It's something Microsoft is going to have to get over with that parity thing, I think. And I get
Yeah.
it, but we shouldn't be held back for that. I just don't like
I mean,
that.
it's not going to matter too much anyways to the
Like,
Xbox gamers between if you're an RPG fan, between Starfield and Cyberpunk getting its re-release with the DLC and all that.
Mm.
It's kind of interesting though, the fact that they're trying to go head to head. I think it could be it's going to gain them a lot of attention on the PlayStation,
Mhm.
but they are splitting the difference with the PC, which is
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
where Larian's always really, that's where they've
That's
done
true.
the best.
That's true.
That's
So-
their home turf.
I'm not really. I guess this is an opportunity for them to try to establish a new audience, and they probably know that the PC audience won't go anywhere. So it might be a good bet,
They are right.
yeah, and I think that game is being somewhat slept on because Larian's.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks
pretty solid.
awesome. I don't know if I would split my PC audience though. I mean, seeing that we know
No.
for a fact that Starfield on
Is it-
Steam is through the charts.
Oh yes.
Like,
Is it
why- I
associated
don't-
with the Epic
that's
Game
weird.
Store, or am I making that up?
What a deal with them you talking about?
Yeah, isn't there something with them?
It might
Am I
be.
crazy?
You never
Oh,
know. Let me see.
Yeah,
No.
I don't remember that, but yeah, Larian's last game, Divinity Original Sin 2, was a 95 on Metacritic for PC, and this one looks like it's going to be super ambitious
Oh, yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of like isometric games. I don't think I've ever seen a game with this much ambition for that style of Western RPGs. So that's definitely one that's going to absolutely hit my must play list this, at some point.
This September,
Well, that
Yeah, I
that
mean,
would
that's
have
when everything
been-
else
September,
comes.
Yeah,
Right.
Starfield goes first, but man, like that is probably going to be in Game of the Year conversations as well. So
Yeah.
crazy fall, crazy September, really,
Yeah,
for,
really crazy September.
Oh yeah.
Western RPGs. It's
Absolutely.
You can get your 60 FPS.
Yeah, it's
so
gonna
there
be
you
a
go.
crazy October as well, I believe. By
Well,
the way,
the-
it says
the-
Baldur's Gate 3 isn't on Epic Game Store yet. but
Okay.
that's- yeah.
All right. I don't know which game I was thinking of then.
Yeah. So.
But Larian, that's one of the teams that Microsoft had narrowed it down to.
Mhm.
the,
Yeah,
port
yes,
legacy.
it is.
And I think the only
Could you imagine if they added
negative
them?
they had was that it was too much of an overlap with an Exile and
Yeah.
Obsidian.
Yes.
I think
That
that was
makes
like the
sense.
big one.
That makes
Which is
sense.
So, which I'm-
probably-
yeah, I get
But if
that.
they really want to
Yeah.
lock up that WRPG game, get
I mean,
Larian.
dude, I feel like they already have, but you're right.
Yeah.
Like there'd be no more discussion if they got Larian. Like that would be nuts. But
Wow.
Yeah.
it
I don't
was
even
kind of
know
cool
if
to
it's
see him on the list.
I didn't know
I don't
that.
even know if it's overlap though, because you look at like In Exile, what they're doing with the money, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing, in
Clockwork.
even
for
though
Evolution.
Maybe to like Avowed or something like that.
No, but
Yeah.
I do
Well-
get what you're saying though. You're saying basically they're moving on to doing other projects that
I mean, put Larian in that mix too. I mean, if the only thing that's stopping them from going mainstream is having a more mainstream type of view or production values, that kind of thing. But
right.
I think if Larian got that, I mean, BioWare at one point in time, they were making Baldur's Gate games. It was top-down isometric. Then they did Knights of the Old Republic. Then they moved on to something more mainstream with Mass Effect, and you saw how they blew up. and you're
Yep.
seeing the same thing happen with NXL. Like, why not Larian? Like, I would be super excited to see Larian go
Oh, yeah.
AAA.
Yeah,
I
I
If
would
In
too.
Exile or Larian can become what BioWare used to be, that would be the coolest
Oh.
thing in the world.
Oh hell,
That'd be
That's
so
why-
good.
make them
I've
the
been calling
Bethesda
Yeah.
adjacents. How about that?
Well, I've been calling NXL since they were purchased in 2018 because the talent in that studio. I think I told you at the beginning I was playing Wasteland 3.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Their writing, their game systems are as
Really
good as
solid.
anybody.
It is really
Yeah.
solid. I'll give them.
Let me ask you a question about Baldur's Gate, since you clearly know what you're talking about. Is it considered a AAA, or is it considered like a high value AA? Because I'm showing that the price point is going to be $60.
I would consider
I
it
think
AAA
part 3 is.
personally.
Yeah, part 3 looks to be AAA. I can't.
I mean, it
speak for the
looked like
past
it when I
games.
saw the
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know the official. It sounds AAA with the amount of dialogue and cutscenes and everything they're putting into
Yeah.
it. With the amount of content, the thing is like that sort of top-down isometric, view doesn't appeal to the mainstream. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to get labeled as such, but it seems
I will
Uh,
say
it-
though, OBM, I think Diablo 4 is helping to change that feeling
Yeah.
though.
Oh,
that's
definitely.
true.
Yeah, that's
And-
definitely bringing it into the conversation.
And maybe that swings things around, and maybe something like Divinity kind of rides on
Yeah.
Yeah.
the back of Diablo.
And
Absolutely.
speaking of bringing games back into the conversation, the next story I have here is that apparently Metal Gear Solid 4 was once running beautifully on the 360, and then the guy who said that in the interview like caught himself and started trying to blame the 360 for it. And he was like, "Oh well, we couldn't get it onto the DVDs; it could only work on a Blu-ray." And then I remember how in the 360,
Right,
well, then
the
I remember
HD
how
DVD.
in the 360 generation
Yes.
there were
Yeah,
like
the
tons
HD
of games that were on
situation and
multiple
all that.
discs.
Yeah,
It was like just put it on multiple discs. Like everyone was fine with that.
yeah. They touted
I
the
remember
It's such a
multiple
dumb
discs
excuse.
recently about Final Fantasy Rebirth, didn't they?
Yeah,
It's on 2
Mhm.
discs. Like, so what's
it's
the
probably
problem?
not even that
It's
big of a
twice
game,
as good.
honestly.
Right.
So-
Wow, that's crazy.
You get
And
twice
speaking of
as much for your money.
speaking of which, it's insane that Metal Gear
Elon.
Solid 4 has not been brought back to be brought to other platforms at all this time. It's only
Well, I'll put out a
stuck-
hot take here. It's because
stuck
it's not
to-
very
to
good.
The PlayStation 3. Well, I
Metal Gear
mean,
Solid 4 is like
Ouch.
40. No,
it is a lot of it
Metal
is a
Gear Solid
lot
4
of CGI
is like
and
20%
cutscenes.
gameplay and 80% cutscenes.
Movie?
That game
Yeah, it's a
ends
movie.
with a movie.
But to counter
is a
that, though,
movie.
just to point out, Baldur's Gate
It's a good
3
movie.
has 170 scenes of hours, rather 170 hours of cutscenes in dialogue. Excuse me, cutscenes.
How many discs is that on?
I probably just one.
Get banned.
If it's physical at all.
Konami, get banned.
So we were talking about the next Nintendo handheld, whatever, and they
Yeah.
said that it would be close to Gen 8, close to, not even
Yay.
Yeah, they
close
said
to.
it'll be almost as
I'm
strong
sorry.
as the
That's
the
not
VCR Xbox One.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
Yeah.
cool.
People are actually saying like that was a good thing online, and I'm scratching my head. I can't tell if they were
Yeah.
joking or not. I'm like,
I mean,
what?
it'll be good that it'll be able to then, at the Nintendo Directs, once this is announced, we'll start to be able to see like games from only 10 years ago getting ported over to the Switch. So that'll be really exciting. Because I don't know if anyone else was laughing openly at the Arkham Collection getting ported over to Switch in their last Direct. And I was like, those are good games. I was in high
Yeah.
school when they came out, but those are good
Mhm.
games.
Right.
Well, if they can get up to 1080p, it makes you a better gamer. So
It's true.
Right.
I mean,
true.
that's a fact.
I'll never.
They just want to make
100%.
sure that the government never sees them as competition, so they can just do whatever they want. You know what I mean?
Man, I'll never forget.
It's really
that.
smart for them, actually, if you think about it on that level.
Yeah. So one of the things that we had in the, before I get to that,
Yeah.
because that's the FTC talk. It was one other news blurb. I guess we could just switch right to the Baldur's Gate thing. Oh no, I get it.
I've got a couple more, but they're not important.
Oh no, let's list them off then, and I'll see if I have one myself. Go ahead.
Okay, here's one that I also thought was really funny. In multiple interviews following the Xbox showcase, apparently Matt Booty has been repeatedly asked if Xbox is going to be doing more stuff in TV and movies because PlayStation is doing it, and now that everyone wants it. And Matt Booty's response to almost all of them were like, "Are you serious? Like, what are you talking about?" He was like, "Yeah, we'll do that, sure," because like they've been lambasted for a decade for talking about TV, and now everyone's like, "But where's your TV stuff, Matt?
Speaking
Where's
of,
it at, dude?"
Speaking of Matt,
I'm looking forward.
The
I'm looking forward to the
Diamond
Fallout show. So that's just me.
well, Fallout
Somewhere
does
Don-
look like it might be okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Obium. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say somewhere Don Matrick is just getting up and yelling at
Mhm.
clouds.
I was right. I was right the whole time.
They're selling
In his prison cell, I
digital
assume.
only TV. It's all the stuff that they were gonna do, but it came down to the fact the guy was just a terrible communicator.
He was.
He had
Yeah.
he had the most punchable face of anybody.
He
that-
did. And then saying some of the stuff like he thought he was Sony, I
Yeah.
think, because he had the hubris of one of the Sony execs when he was
Your hubris.
right. What was the thing he said, guys? Buy us another console or maybe the Xbox
get
is
another
not
job?
for you.
It's a console for you.
It's not-
He
yeah,
says,
it's a console.
he says we have
for
a console
you.
for you, and it's the previous
Right.
one.
I was like,
There
what
has
would
to be
make
one
you
of the
say
worst-
that?
It's because
It has
he's
to
it's because he's an idiot
He
and
was
he
an
doesn't
idiot
know how
for
to
that.
talk.
Absolutely.
He much like the FTC lawyer, just says things that are wrong with such conviction that some people choose to believe him.
Yeah, it's like I was about to say there might be a position for him at the FTC now.
Yeah, maybe he already works there. Actually, maybe this has all
Hey,
been a revenge act.
That's how they're getting their information. Say this. So I'll just throw this out there. Annapurna
Sure.
had their developer showcase today. If you all didn't see
Yeah.
it, and they announced 6 games coming to Xbox and Game Pass. So they have Cocoon, which we all knew about. They have Thirsty Suitors.
Yeah.
They have Bounty Star,
We-
which Rich mentioned earlier.
We did talk about this a couple minutes ago.
Yeah,
but
we did.
We didn't name
But-
them all off. That's all.
I don't think we named
No.
them all off. So yeah.
Ghost Bike,
Ghost Bike.
Flock, and To a T, which is a very odd name. It's not even capitalized.
Is that a golfing game?
I don't know. It sounds like it.
Feels
But-
like a golfing game.
But some of them are listed as far as dates. Bounty Star, Ghost Bike, 2024. Nothing for Flock and To a T, so that might be 2024 or later. But we have Cocoon and Thirsty Suitors hitting this year. So September 29th is Cocoon, which looks to be good. And we have Thirsty Suitors in November 2nd.
Yeah.
That's from the guys of Limbo, by the way, and
Oh,
Inside
is it?
Cocoon. Yep,
Oh, no,
that's
I knew
why I'm
about
excited
that.
about
I knew
Cocoon.
about that one. I was
Yeah.
wondering about Thirsty Suitors.
That's
but,
such
yeah.
a
Oh no,
different game
Thirsty.
from
I
those.
don't know.
Yeah.
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 What
And then, of course,
it's a
we
little
heard about
disappointing,
the Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth was announced.
2033.
Yeah. So
I wish I
this-
cared about Blade Runner.
that was before your time too. So yeah.
Not the new one. The new one was just bad.
It
was
was-
really
yeah,
pretty,
that's true.
but there was just like no substance there.
But I'm thinking about the first one, which was actually decent. Somewhat.
Yeah. Well, which version did you watch? Because apparently there's like 10 different versions, and
I-
some of them are better than others. And
I'll
if
be
you get into a
honest.
film fight, then
I'll be
someone will
honest,
tell you you're
I do
wrong no
not
matter
know.
what.
You're right, and I don't even delve that deep into it. I look at it and they be like, "Oh, it's so great because if you look at this," and I'm like, "I don't have time for that." I just watched the movie
Yeah.
and kept it moving. I'll be honest. I'll just be honest, really, really quick. I love
you
Harrison
read
Ford.
the book?
Harrison Ford is my favorite actor of all time.
It's pretty good.
Blade Runner, outside of moments, did not really do it for me. I'm going to be honest with you. What did you all
Yeah.
like Blade Runner, Retri, and OBM?
The original
Yeah,
or the new one?
the original.
The original, not as much as everybody else.
Same. That's how I am.
It was just too drab. I think it was just like too depressing.
Yep.
It's kind of like how Daniel described Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That's that movie.
Well,
in my
Cyberpunk
opinion.
definitely has like big Blade Runner
Absolutely.
vibes.
And
Like
that-
there's definitely
Yeah,
big.
not even,
100%.
not even a question. You can see it
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah,
There's
but
no
the
doubt.
but the new one,
You can
which
tell
I was
because
looking
both
forward
of them
to,
worlds are
absolutely
incredibly
sucks.
boring and terrible.
Yeah.
Hey, Kazanti says, stop the slander of Blade Runner, Danny. And by the way, Bushido, I agree 100%. He said the
I was
end of the
saying,
Blade
it's
Runner
the best
is the
part.
best part.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
agree.
Is that the Tears in the Rain bit?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good bit. I've seen that.
Yeah, that was the best part. And I mean, Rutger Hauer, I loved Rutger Hauer.
Extremely
So,
talented.
Absolutely.
I
So-
hope I don't know his life. I don't know if he turned out to like be secretly racist or something.
I-
Hopefully not, but it seems cool.
Right.
All our heroes usually do, right?
AKA
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Blind
I love that
Fury.
guy.
Wasn't he Blind
Yeah.
Fury? That was him as Blind Fury, right? Love that movie, by the way. But anyway, yeah, so Blade Runner was officially announced. It says this will be their first fully in-house developed game from Annapurna, so that's interesting. Danny, did you have any other ones that you wanted to?
I've got two more.
Okay.
I had that Microsoft apparently expects next gen to start in 2028. as per some stuff that
Ooh,
came out in
called
tertiary FTC
That makes
documentation.
sense, actually.
Called that shit.
Which is pretty cool. It means that, you know, we're pretty close, I guess, in like the cosmic sense. And it also means that based on all but the weird sentence said by the Microsoft lawyer during the closing documents, previously we had expected for the Elder Scrolls 6 to be coming out about that same time frame, which would have made it a launch title. But also during the FTC closing documents or closing conversation today, one of the lawyers just like randomly said that Elder Scrolls 16 would be coming out, was expected to come out in 2026.
Wow.
So I don't know how much faith we
What?
can put in that,
No
because like
effing
also
way
she
am I-
said
I'm not-
16,
no.
Yeah.
but like
They
I
made a
don't know
mistake.
who's to say.
They definitely
So I
made a
guess
That's a
sometime between 2026 and 2029 the game will come out.
Unless it's a team that we magically don't have not heard of that exists, you know what I mean? Unless they hired
They
400
do have
people
like
we haven't
5
heard of.
studios now,
Well,
because they just
I-
opened the
but-
Dallas one.
I think they had initially
that.
planned. Yeah, I think they initially were planning on that being somewhere around 2026, which is where they're getting that date. But the issue is that Starfield
Possible.
got pushed back, a year and a half to 2 years. Like, even Phil kind of admitted that the delay, the 1 year delay, it was actually internally delayed before that. So, and there was rumors, heavy rumors back in 2021 that maybe it was getting close, or that's kind of what they were targeting. And so I think the pandemic threw that back, and then Microsoft wanted to add a ton of polish onto it. In addition to that, and the way that Bethesda's teams work is that, they have 2 teams, but generally like one sits in pre-prod and is kind of like designing the ideas and just kind of like the bones for what the next game's going to be. And then they have one full production team, and so that full production team doesn't move over to Elder Scrolls until Starfield is not only
Right.
released, but then the DLC is done and
Expansions
everything.
and
So
stuff.
So
usually the process
Basically-
isn't that like, I think a lot of this development was because they were advancing the engine. Usually when their full production hits, it is like only a 2 to 3 year period. So I mean, it's feasible, but probably not unlikely, because you're gonna figure they're gonna be supporting Starfield for a year, 2 years. So I'm guessing 2028, or which
Well,
which would be crazy.
I have like a pro towards it coming out sooner, and probably a con is I think so. Like you said, at this point, there's already people who have been working on Elder Scrolls 6 for probably some time in like writing or conceptualizing, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like writing has absolutely started. Obviously, it's not in full production at this point because they're still trying to, finish up Starfield and make sure that goes. So they have probably already started working on it to some extent, which would move it closer, you would think. But also, we had that interview with Kind of Funny, I think, or was it IGN? No, it was IGN, where Todd Howard was saying that he thinks this might be his last Elder Scrolls game, not his last game, but his last Elder Scrolls game. Just looking at like the timetables and when he wants to retire, I guess. Which to me would say he probably wants to go like extra hard on it. So I would expect this game to
Pause.
not be anytime soon. No pause. Let him
Let him
raw
go
dog
all the
Elder
way
Scrolls
hard.
as long as he
There
wants.
you go.
Well, and actually to kind of piggyback on what you were saying too, that Todd Howard mentioned in the past, he did an interview with PC Gamer back in the day. I don't remember exactly when this interview was, but he basically said that they're still working on the technology, like that, and basically he was saying that the tech to do what he wants to do in Elder Scrolls isn't there yet. So he could mean one of 2 things. He could mean that this is going to be one of those hybrid cloud games that's going to use the AI, and
Please don't.
I'm sure. Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys have seen this stuff, but they're already running like they've run like these word games, almost like word RPGs, experimenting with
Well, like, does it work?
I can't remember the name of the game was, but they've been also experimenting, I think, with Skyrim, even like mods or whatever.
I'll just say, like, I've had my fill of the whole, the cloud will compute. Just make us a game, guys. Don't
Just make a game.
experiment on something else. Don't experiment with something as big as Elder Scrolls or something like that. I just really don't want them to waste the time and our time. Well, you got to be connected always online or something. Like it's going to be Fallout because of that. because it
Well,
has to
I
be
think you could
always
do both,
connected.
though.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
with
hope so.
one bad
You-
mother. I think you can do both.
Yeah, you can do both.
Think
you can
about
have an offline version, right?
Yeah, think about Starfield having 250,000 lines of dialogue,
Mhm.
and then for all the characters that you just don't have time for, you can integrate Chat GTP and other technologies
Yeah.
to at least fill the gap for you, right? Like, I don't think you should
I
get
think
rid
that'll be a
of.
violation.
I don't think.
Richie.
I don't think you should get
the
rid of.
writers
What do you
will
mean
actually-
by?
The writers will actually absolutely complain about that. I would think because they already made us think about.
Well, of course they will.
Yeah, so
because
I
they're
don't
gonna
think it'll go
complain.
Yeah, I
They're
wouldn't
gonna
use
complain.
AI for writing.
Yep,
It's
they wouldn't
gonna
allow it.
happen. I promise you,
so?
AI is gonna be
Not on-
100%.
See, I think it
100%
could happen, but just not with something like that.
I don't think it's gonna be I don't think it's gonna be 100% AI. But it's
I don't
already.
think it'll
they're-
happen
the,
at all.
The indie
because
guys
they-
are already doing it right now, guys.
No, but that's why I'm
so,
saying,
yeah,
like,
of
see,
course
they might allow it for those. I'm talking about for something that has these. I forgot who runs the agencies and that you have to sign up to be a part of.
The unions.
Yeah, the unions and such. When it comes to that, they're never going to allow. They've already spoken up against it many times. Me and Danny talked about this one time. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, unions.
I
hate it.
mean,
yeah, the unions.
I
Actually,
get
just
it.
writers in general hate it.
Yeah,
Even ones that
yeah.
aren't in
I mean,
unions.
of course,
right now,
it
writers
makes
in video
sense.
games aren't. But whenever some of this technology started coming out, like ChatGPT started being a thing that people knew about.
Mhm.
Basically, writers across the board were like, "Hey, by the way, if you like a vampire, invite ChatGPT into this household, I will be leaving."
Right.
Well,
I
so
mean, because it's usurping them. It's
I
something that
look,
could threaten them. I mean, we already know about
can
the boom
threaten
when it comes to
them.
industrialization of jobs right now. It's already an issue. So
Yeah.
imagine them taking over their writing duties because we've seen some scary stuff with this AI tech lately. I can
100%.
I can absolutely imagine that it would probably write a better story than some of these writers.
Plus, AI
That's
is
the
starting to
problem.
screw itself over because now there's so much AI BS out there that it's sampling its own stuff and just going
Right,
into an
regurgitating it.
infinite wormhole of its own butt.
Yeah.
And just really sucking. So that's cool. I'm glad that we've hit the heat death of AI so fast. It's
Well,
really
I think,
cool.
I think there's some nuance there, though, because you could say people could have been saying the same thing about procedural generation.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
the whole, like the generating all these planets procedurally, for example.
Yeah.
right?
Bingo. That
And
was a
then
huge hate word back in the day, by the way.
Yeah,
that was
and that
a
was
huge hate
I
word.
think
back
you'll
in the
find
day.
online it
And now
still
it's-
is.
It still is, but many didn't
Well,
know
you
that
know
they
what?
already used
Yeah,
it, right?
it
Like,
still is, but
Yeah.
who's using it?
Yeah.
Who's
But
using
so
it?
but that's not
here's-
always used it. That's the
It's
funniest
being
part.
used.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. Like, I think people are thinking of it as all or nothing, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's not how it's intended to be used. Like,
Yeah.
even in business,
Right.
you know, you still have, basically it should be a tool for the creatives, not something to replace the creatives.
Mhm.
And like, even you have procedural generation in Starfield, lots and lots of it. But then you have Todd Howard also saying that, hey, we have more handcrafted content that we've ever had. You still have to have somebody kind of put the guardrails on it. You can't let the AI run away with it, because the AI can start doing crazy shit like being
Yeah.
racist, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things.
What was that one AI where it was like a chatbot and it got racist within 2
Yeah.
seconds?
Like,
What was that one?
Well,
AI
that's
is
what happens when
wild.
you learn
Yeah.
from the internet.
so,
Yeah.
It kind of reminds you of that one robot they had programmed to learn human emotions, and it was like murder the human
It
race.
just immediately was like, well, murder seems
Yeah.
pretty cool, actually.
Kind of makes sense.
It was just all intrusive thoughts.
well, that's why, yeah, like you're not going to ever, I think, in this situation, just let it run wild and do its own thing.
Right.
It's something that you put on guardrails, and what you can end up doing is you can handcraft the main stories, the core cities and things like that. But then when it comes to like side missions, you could create some parameters for it and have it like procedurally like generate like thousands of combinations of
Yeah.
different side missions, and it
Mhm.
basically is unlimited amount that you could end up and just the dynamic aspects of it that you could create with that would not even
Yeah.
be possible
I
with a
did
human.
see-
I hear you
Yeah.
on that. I'm just saying, like, I know that, these writers were striking about that.
Yeah,
and they were like, hey, specifically, we don't want this chat GPT, whatever the hell they call it. We don't want any of this
Yeah, there's
AI
multiple,
constructed stuff trying to take our job. They took our jobs.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
that's
I'm
not
just
the
saying.
same.
It's part of the industry, though, man.
Yeah.
Well, how many times have
Yeah.
have people complained about forward technology?
yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time they always say this, and guess what? they've
Yeah.
always lost.
I don't.
We write it
Well,
when
that's
they're
not
machines.
true.
90% of the
Every
time
time
they
writers
lose.
have
When-
gone on strike, they've gotten what
No,
they
I'm not
wanted.
talking
I
about
was-
writers.
I
I'm
was gonna
talking
say,
about
yeah.
people when it comes to technology. Over time, you're going to see this because guess what? There's going to be a ton of indie guys who are going to leverage this. There's
Yeah.
already content creators using it. There's already journalists who are using this.
See, but
There's
it's-
going to be a
but
ton
see-
of people
but
who
it's
use it
within
on the
parameters,
independent
though,
level,
Reggie.
and then it's going to leak right into AAA.
But see, but it's within parameters though. See, those guys are
Yeah.
not under
Yeah.
the
I'm
same,
not saying, yeah,
I
but
think
I'm
it'll be
with,
in there to some
I'm with,
That's what I mean by
I'm
that.
with
But I
one
also
bad
think
mother
it'll be
though.
terrible.
I agree with the parameters. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's going to take over. I'm
No,
saying
yeah.
it's something to leverage.
No, I get you, but I'm
Infinite,
trying to say
we
that
already
it's
know
it's kind of
someone
a difference,
who's-
though, right? Like it's a difference
Yeah.
where I'm pointing out, and what me and Danny are saying is that these writers are strong in the union. They've won every single time they said what they wanted to get, they got it. And they're saying, hey, we don't want this brought into this. Their unions are going to fight for them to keep it out of there.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
we're
they'll
talking
find
about.
they'll find a thing where it'll be like, because there was one argument that I heard, not argument, it was like a proposition of how they would use it, where they're like, well, we'll have the AI do the rough draft, and then people come in and edit it, and all the writers were like, actually, fuck that. But I think that
Never
what it'll
know,
probably end up
but,
being is
yeah.
that they'll fight about it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably, okay, here's how it's going to happen blow for blow. It'll start getting introduced like how Ubisoft is apparently, according to Keasante in the chat, although also Ubisoft doesn't put out games, so I guess we'll probably never see that. And when that starts happening, all the journalists and people will start being really vocal against it, like they were with NFTs and stuff, and then
Which is funny because they're using
And
it left
then-
and right.
It is the
and then
next-
there'll be
the next
and then there'll be some level of thing where, like, much like NFTs, it'll flop horrendously, but then it'll still be used in some limited extent, and they'll probably come to some kind of agreement down the road where it's like, we'll use it but only for shit that doesn't matter. So we'll use it for, like, I don't know,
Like KSRT
barks
said,
that
background
characters are
barks.
gonna
Yeah,
use.
background
Yeah.
talking in games or something, right?
yeah, when there's like some guy who you walk past in the street and he's like, oh, nice shoes, or I don't know, I don't write video games.
Thanks for the shoe.
Nice shoes, dude, that's
I
pretty
feel
cool.
like we could
Same hat.
probably stay on this one for like hours, but
Yeah.
but I'll just throw in a little bit of more. I think it is different than NFTs because it is a
I definitely
technology.
do too.
Yeah, and I think the thing that
Yeah, I like that. It is different in that it exists, unlike NFTs, which are just lies.
yeah, I mean somebody pulled that out of their ass, and that doesn't
Yeah.
add any value. The problem here is like even if you're against it, first of all I agree with people that say you need to put some sort of regulations around it
Mhm.
or
Checks
rules
and
around it.
balances for sure.
Just like anything,
Yeah.
like the fact that we have online banking now, you need to have security, right? There
Bingo.
needs to be guardrails around any sort of new powerful technology, but it's going to cause problems that we can't predict. We know that, but there's going to be solutions too. The problem is like even if the writers, unions get their way. You're going to have independent developers, and I have a buddy who's been developing for a couple decades, and he's telling me like, he was working with Epic for a little while. He's like, you're going to have small teams putting out games that look and play and maybe are even bigger than what your AAA games were like a decade ago. So, like you're going to get to this
To
point,
some extent, I would say they already are.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You're going to get
That's
to
the
this
point, though.
Yeah, you're going to get.
They're
going to
use that tool.
Oh,
If it's
absolutely.
gonna save you a ton of money as an independent developer, you're using that tool.
I can see that.
promise you.
I think
And
the
it's gonna
parameters.
handicap
I think
people
what will
that
be
won't.
said is that they won't be allowed then probably to use anybody who's in the union as writers. That probably will be the thing. Maybe that will be
Yeah.
the line that.
And you know
draws.
what? You're going to introduce. This is the exciting thing about it because I get people like who are saying, "Well, it's going to take jobs and stuff." And this is you go through history, like even when we
And it
introduced
probably
machines.
will.
Yeah, when we introduced machines, people that were doing labor jobs revolted, and there was violence
Mhm.
over it. and
That's
stuff.
my point. That's exactly
study
what I'm
our
trying
history.
Yeah.
to
And
say.
this happens all the time, and so it will cause a shift. There will be people that lose jobs, but it also will create jobs.
Create
because,
new jobs, exactly.
because you have people today that cannot get into the
AI
industry.
babysitters.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, can you watch my
Yep.
AI and make sure it doesn't like put a burning cross in the front yard or
Pretty-
something?
yeah. I
Um,
mean, but you're gonna bring in creatives that never would have had the opportunity to make a video game are gonna be able to come in there and make something that looks impressive enough that could get mainstream attention.
That
So
would be really
there's a
interesting.
lot.
I want to see if
Yeah,
I can get
there's-
the chat GPT to write a song for me that I could do for my band.
Yeah, go
Of course
for
you
it.
can.
People have
But
definitely
It's not
done
gonna be
that.
good. It's not gonna be
First of all.
good right now, but you can do it.
Ooh.
Trust me,
It
I've
may
used
never
this
be
stuff.
good.
That's why it's pretty impressive. The problem is getting it to sound as natural as possible. But I'm telling you, it is very, very close.
Okay, all right.
This is one hell
it's
of a
getting
scroll
there.
off of Skyrim, by the
Oh
way.
no, hey,
yeah.
hey, it is.
In conclusion, the Congo is a place of conflict.
Yeah.
I do have
video
one more
about it
story
someday.
before we get into whichever ones I missed that you wanted to throw in there.
No, you good.
Are you cool with me jumping in on it now? Or?
Yeah, definitely.
Just the last one here is we've got some really exciting exclusives announced as part of this FTC nonsense. Namely, Indiana Jones has been renegotiated to be an Xbox exclusive, which at least one lawyer was really hung up on. And Project Dragon, which I think is also called Project Fantasy in some different circles, I don't know, is also been confirmed to be an Xbox exclusive. So in conclusion, there are more exclusives announced as part of this than there were in the PlayStation Showcase, as per Mr. Boomstick. Thank you.
So a few other things that I'll just kind of quickly throw out. I'm sure we'll discuss a bit. Of course, what we came to find out because of the FTC situation that Ninja Theory was acquired for $117.
A steal.
Million.
Ooh, that's really good.
Yeah, $117. Here you go. 117 million. My bad. Which was impressive. We already talked about that on Tuesday, so I'm not going to go into it. We also saw that Microsoft wants to double Xbox revenues by 2030 and deliver deliver 32 to 34 billion in annual games earnings. Which I think they'll get there too, by the way.
I mean, if they get Activision,
For
it'll
mobile.
happen
Absolutely.
overnight.
Absolutely. If they get Activision, it's a done deal in my opinion. And then, of course, some of the games studios we saw that they're trying to acquire, I absolutely see it happening.
Yeah, I have that list. Do you want to talk about that?
You know what? We can get into it 1 second. Absolutely, I do.
Sure.
Motive Studio, they announced that Iron Man, and you know I had to say this to everybody in the chat, Iron Man will be powered by Unreal Engine 5. Yes.
Yes. That new something that also came out as part of this, speaking of Unreal Engine, is that new Playdead game is also running on Unreal.
Oh yeah,
apparently.
Absolutely. Unreal Engine supremacy up in here. All right, you all need to get with the program. That's what I'm telling y'all in the audience. So it's by the way, Derek Strickland, because of the things that the FTC, we found out so much stuff. I remember people writing it off originally, like, oh, you're not going to find out. They're going to have everything redacted. No, we found out a ton of info. Even the redacted stuff. Even the redacted wasn't redacted
multiple times.
Because they did it wrong. Because as proven by every time they open their mouth, some lawyers are absolute blundering morons.
I wonder if anybody got in trouble for that, because they blatantly revealed that info from Sony about how much it costs for a Horizon and everything. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Well, there were a couple times where, like, if you were listening to it, they would like, okay, we can't talk about these numbers, and then they would just immediately say the numbers, and they'd be like, damn.
Damn, we did it.
We sure did not do our
20%. Oh, oops, my bad. Sorry.
Oh, I thought we were actual lawyers, but it turns out we're the JV squad.
Yeah. So one of the other things that came out, Derek Strickland pointed out, oh Lord, Kate, don't you dare. He said, so does that mean the games will be buggy and busted? Don't you dare, sir. You talk about slandering some damn, Blade Runner. You better not dare slander Unreal Engine, the almighty. So Derek Strickland pointed out, he says that one of the leaks we found out was that it sounds like Final Fantasy XVI was originally coming to both Xbox and PlayStation 5, but was made exclusive in 2022. And that's part of the problem that many of us are complaining about when it comes to money. And Sony, they money head all the time. Not like Sony does. Sony has been doing this for 25 plus years.
Having now played the first 6 hours of Final Fantasy 16 with a friend of mine, keep it.
That's why I don't want that studio. You can keep them.
You know,
go for it.
How about? That's part of the end discussion, I suppose.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. So. Red Dead Redemption 2, if you all didn't hear about this, excuse me, not 2, but Red Dead Redemption, there was rumors about it having a remake and being redone, which I'm all for. If they did it in Red Dead Redemption 2 engine, an updated engine for that, and made it look visually close to that or better, absolutely. 100% sold. It says it's rated in Korea for 2022.
I'm sorry. G maybe says they brought the mock trial team.
Right. At least the FTC did, yeah.
Yeah.
So Baldur's Gate 3, I'll jump to that and we can move on. Baldur's Gate 3, if you all did not hear about this in the chat, they're talking about how vast it is, right? So it has more dialogue than 3 times all 3 of the Lord of the Ring books combined.
Do we count the songs?
Over 2 million words. Mind you,
God.
if you all have seen those Lord of the Rings books, those things are not small. Those things are thick. I had them. Those are some thick books. So if you
I've
all
got
have any
one
idea,
big ass one that's all 3 stuck together.
oh, so you know, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those
Oh, I used to
books
take
are
that thing
no
to school and
joke.
get bullied for it. It was a good time.
Oh man, that book probably you can use that as a blunt object to attack somebody.
Yeah, that's why I didn't get bullied for very long.
Maybe like smack them across the head. You shall not pass. That
You'd be
thing.
surprised how judgmental people who don't read are about whatever book you're reading.
Oh yeah, you know.
You're like, you're reading Golden Compass? That's a book about atheists. I'm like, actually, it's a book about polar bears who fight in war. It's pretty metal.
It's pretty metal.
No, but that's crazy. Over 2 million words inside of this game. It says over 170 hours of cinematics, twice the length of every season of Game of Thrones combined. It says over 600 spells and actions. That's pretty insane. There's more info too,
Yeah, it
actually.
sounds pretty crazy.
It is.
That's the most ambitious isometric RPG I've ever heard.
No question. It's
The way that it looks, I want to see the mod that makes it not isometric. Because like the fidelity on everything
That'd be cool.
looks like it's high enough that
I
you
know.
could just
That
turn
you
it
could
into
do
a
it.
third-person game and play it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
You're so close to that.
That mod will happen,
yeah.
and I'm excited for it.
And it's a few other things we saw. It's 11 races with sub races. Let's see. It's going to be 4K 60, of course, we talked about. Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty insane, actually. I can see a lot of people losing their lives to that as far as time goes. Kay said the good thing we learned is that Phil does know how to break contracts. Go figure. You know, absolutely. You know what? One of the things that shocked me, and I mentioned this Tuesday when we were all talking about it, I was stunned to see how gangster Matt Booty was.
Yes, same here, dude.
I am still stunned.
I thought he was a meek dude,
Yeah.
and looking at the emails and whatnot, I was like, yeah, I you know, some of us were like, should we keep Matt Booty around because you know he screwed up with Redfall, blah blah blah. Hell yeah, dude. After learning all the things we learned about Matt Booty, Matt Booty, you know, putting the kill on them possibly not going first party day and date. Ooh, what the fuck were they smoking? Like they were even thinking about that. Thank you, Matt Booty, for not allowing that to
As
happen
somebody
for
who was
Game
never
Pass.
sleeping on the booty, I told y'all so.
Yeah.
I told y'all.
Peaches, Matt Booty,
Well,
Peaches is
Peaches.
a bad mother. I'm calling him Peaches from now on.
There's a couple of things though about that. Like number one, he didn't have any say over Redfall, so I did find that kind of interesting because a lot of the narrative kind of escalated after Redfall, and it's like that he has absolutely zero say, zero insight to that game. It's not in his division. It's not underneath him.
Yeah.
Nothing under Bethesda was, but so I'm kind of like. I've always said that his grade is incomplete because we really need to see how Hellblade and Avowed and Perfect Dark, how they turn out. Not the fact that they go through some dev hell here and there, especially if you're trying different things through the pandemic.
Yeah.
But how they actually land, right? Like if they land, then he's good. If they don't, then he's not. But I think
we're talking about his viciousness than anything. Like we're talking about his character. Kind of like Phil behind the scenes, where we find out they're not messing around. Like we've been saying forever on podcasts that we've been bitching about Microsoft we wanted to be more like Sony, come down with the hammer.
Agree.
Well, it turns out behind the scenes, that's exactly what they've been doing. Everything we've been wanting them to do is exactly what they're doing, just behind closed doors. They're telling you one thing to your face, and then they're doing it nicely.
It's not like they're hiding it. Like one of the things that always bothered me is people were like, man, I really wish that they would be more aggressive. And I'd be like, they just bought ZeniMax. They've bought like 10 other studios. They're trying to buy Activision. Like, how much more aggressive could you be?
Because we were talking specifically about a very specific thing, and we were talking about third-party deals, which we know is like 3 to 1. It's like 3. Well, I understand that, but you're also missing out on these other games that we wanted them to at least bid against Sony, which they didn't do, which is fine, whatever. Like if they're gonna buy the cow, and we found out they're gonna buy more cows, I'm okay with that. Like, go for it, because you know what? It saves me $70 every time they do that. So go for it.
The Kumbaya thing has always been a bit of a I don't know, smoke and mirrors magic trick or something like that, because we knew that they had to play. if they were playing the traditional console war and they were serious about it, they would have been doing the same thing Sony's doing, but with more money.
Mhm.
The reason what they weren't doing what Sony was doing, and the reason why Phil Spencer has asked, some of the people that report to him like to pull back on this, like he's like simmer down a little bit, is because they're thinking, just like Jim Ryan actually said in his initial email, they are thinking much bigger, right? And if you are thinking that big, you cannot get down. You can't take that sort of power down into that level, right? That fight at that level. So I don't think they can, because they knew that they were looking at things that are bigger, and they're thinking about an industry beyond consoles. And that is why it's not because Phil Spencer is being kumbaya. He mic dropped when they announced the Tomb Raider. Remember that back in the day? He was proud. He was proud to announce Tomb Raider was exclusive.
And everyone was so mad at him, and he's like, "But this is what we do."
He knows how to play the part he needs to play. I'm not saying Phil's not a nice guy. A lot of people, I know people that played with him. He sounds like like somebody who's fun to talk to. But at the end of the day, like, he's got to run a business, and everything he's doing is to run the best business for Microsoft. Yeah. And we heard all that with Amy Hood and the investors. Everything that he has to do, he has to justify it to them. Yeah. And in order to go this big, that's why they have to kind of, not throw their weight around too much at a low level, because they want to go bigger. And if you are taking everything exclusive and breaking every contract, you're not going to have any shot at buying these publishers. So that's where that comes in.
Yeah, and it's the forward-facing thing they do. They do the whole nice guy act out front. So we're not wrong to feel that way. That's how they present themselves. But behind the scenes, it's exactly like we were wishing they were. Like we hoping there were sharks behind us. They were sharks behind the scenes. That's the funniest part. And I just did not expect Matt Booty to be the one that was like,
I didn't either.
But like, hell no, we're not putting our games over there. Like, I just didn't expect that. And I'm like, he talks like us. Like, wait a minute.
Yep.
That stunned me.
I bet you if you could read all their minds, they're all thinking that. They're in business. They're in business to win. It's just the definition of winning has changed for Microsoft. That's true.
The parameters have changed. But I'll say, like, I will say, like, I'm pretty sure they learned a lesson. I think we mentioned it even on Tuesday, Danny, where they better have those types of things that he's saying like that. It's better said out loud than inside of an email going forward, so they can't be used against them. Oh, look what he said here.
Yeah.
So, but
because you could already see it starting in some of the emails where there was a lot of like Phil Spencer being like, "Why don't we get on a call real fast?" Yeah. And it was like, I bet I know how these conversations went.
Good point. And speaking of Phil, he apparently made a big decision to make all ZeniMax games Xbox exclusive in a November 2021 meeting. Based Phil. Absolutely. That's
the judge was pretty based today too. I don't know if you saw any of the closing document. When we got to the second half, she started being a little more like, like in the middle. But that first half, she was just like, okay, but how does it hurt consumers? Exactly. Why is everything you're saying dumb?
So good.
She was so based.
She's cutting them off when they kept talking about Sony.
I hope she makes the right choice so that I don't have to feel bad about myself for liking her.
What if she rules against after all of this? Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
it would be weird. It would be weird, but like especially when she, like you were saying, Umbra, when she's got to interrupt them and she goes, it's not Sony, it's the consumer. Remember, she says, remember to the freaking FTC lawyer. He's like, oh yeah,
I didn't know she said remember. I didn't know she said that.
She said it pointedly.
And then he had to come back after they took the break. After the break, the first thing that he says is, "I'm not like trying to be like pro Sony or whatever."
They also switched lawyers to their only good one.
Only good one.
Yeah, they started doing a lot better when the one lawyer who can form a sentence started talking.
Bingo.
Wait a minute.
So
Danny,
I don't know why he wasn't
there. Was it the guy who crossed
time.
Phil? Is that the one they brought back?
It was the guy who crossed Sadia. I don't know if he did Phil as well.
Okay. Yeah, man, listen. This whole thing is interesting. It's so crazy because everybody was always, now you see a lot of our Who's brothers. Oh, all of you Xbots are now analysts and such. Yeah, this stuff is interesting, man, and it's not something typically I would want to be involved in, but it does concern us, and it is something we're going to talk about in these podcasts. So it would behoove us,
This
our
is just a lot of
brothers,
fun.
to learn on this. Yeah,
Well,
is fun.
it's literally dollars and cents. It literally is money out of our pockets. If this doesn't happen, I would have to, even though I did, but in the future, I'd have to pay for Diablo, COD, Blizzard games. I love I love Activision Blizzard. So personally, I buy a ton of their crap. This is going to save me hundreds of dollars.
I do
possibly
sort of want to
thousands
be
over time. So
I want to be
it does affect
on
us.
the multiverse where I can look and see like I want to live in the timeline where this deal goes through, but I also want to see the timeline where it doesn't and just like see what happens. Because I'm so curious to see what Microsoft's response would be.
Sega gets bought instead of.
There's a
Activision.
sick part of me that actually would be excited to see what they do next.
Yeah, I think either way,
Because
I'm
we
really
saw
excited.
that watch list, right? And it seemed like we have decided that Call of Duty is a unicorn. None of those other things are unicorns. So I think everything else
I loved how
back on the table.
did you
Yeah,
did you
she
hear
fought that though
the
too.
Bailey one, the Dr. Bailey or Professor Bailey, whatever, the economist.
Yeah.
Where she came out, she's like, so in my the first words out of her mouth were like, yeah, so in my original statements, I said Call of Duty is not this, this, and this. I'd like to add it's also not a unicorn because they had said like an hour
exactly.
earlier that it was, and she's like, because that's stupid. And I was like, she was like, hell yeah, Bailey.
Dude, she was the
Dr.
best on the
Lee-
stand,
Speaking
in my
of
opinion.
that, Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee was
Dr.
the guy who could not explain.
Right.
That was
how
their
any of his
expert.
numbers
That
worked.
was their economic expert.
That's right.
That was just
And-
horrible.
He was
Their
the one that
economic
the
expert who
judge
could not
asked. He
pass an
said,
algebra class.
exactly.
Would
the
not
judge
answer.
asked, and it
Would not answer.
Yeah, being very evasive. And it was the one where the judge, I believe, had said, called him out on saying, "Oh, the report you said you didn't read, that one, that was him."
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy too. One of the things that happened today was Canada. This is why I titled the show "Microsoft versus
Canada.
the World." Oh, Canada,
Exactly.
you screwed us over.
Canucks, come on,
You
man.
damn hitters.
Didn't they?
They tried. At least
Yeah.
they tried. Microsoft
Well,
fired
but didn't
back.
they like? So I'm confused by this. Maybe you can explain it to me.
Yeah.
The report that I saw of this is that they waited too long, and so now they can't block it. But then they wrote a letter to Judge Corley.
That's what I got
and
out
I
of
don't
it
even
was
know
like,
why they
hey,
was
guys.
allowed, by the way. I don't even know why they were allowed to say
shouldn't-
anything.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's kind
well,
of
I think they were
BS.
waiting for the CMA to make a decision because Canada very famously does a lot of the things that the UK does. Because
Yeah.
they're like not still part of the UK, but they sometimes feel like they
Right.
are. I think the Queen was on their money for a while.
You're right. They were. Yeah.
So they were probably just like waiting to see like, hey, is the CMA gonna just like implode real fast? Like we should wait. And then the timer went up, and they're like, oops, well, it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they
Canada,
decided to-
New
to
Zealand,
protect it.
Australia, they're all waiting to see what
Pretty much.
happens
CMA
in
does.
the UK and
Yeah.
potentially.
Luckily, it doesn't matter.
Once this is done, if they win here, it's against the FTC. That's a wrap as far as I'm concerned. I think it's pretty much as far as Microsoft is concerned too. Canada's Competition Bureau had just intervened in the FTC versus Microsoft case to correct factual inaccuracies. It says it told Microsoft last month that the deal was likely to result in a substantial prevention and or lessening of competition. So then right after that, Microsoft fired back and responded that the formal waiting period preventing the deal has already closed. And that was legalese.
Shut your mouth. That's what that was.
Exactly.
Shut your mouth.
That was a polite way
You
of
missed your
saying,
opportunity.
Get done.
Yeah,
Go
if you had
sit
something
down.
to say, you should have said it earlier. When your opinion still mattered.
Exactly. So hey, you had something to say, you should have said it then. Now keep
You had
your
a
mouth
platform and you
closed.
chose to not step on it.
Exactly. Keep it moving. So one of the things we'll move to the FTC discussion is, and if you guys have any specific thing in the case, as I said before in the pregame, definitely throw it out there and we'll discuss those points. Because some of the trial I did not see or hear as I was getting my beauty arrest, if you will. One of the things we saw were Phil and Jim Ryan flying. I don't know what else you all use for Jim Ryan name. The Flying Lion campaign trying. I don't know. Jim Ryan. Anyway, so Phil and Jim Ryan had an interesting exchange, and it's interesting because Jim Ryan apparently feels like Sony is still in the position of power to demand whatever from Microsoft here, the nearly $3 trillion company, and demanded more or less that all of the games after acquisition would still appear on Sony, would not appear on Game Pass, and Danny, if I'm not mistaken, as you pointed out before the show, would also possibly appear on their service.
Yeah. So basically,
He wants parity.
there,
With services,
yeah. So basically,
parody services.
the thing he came back with, and it was apparently it was the ending of the email that we from like way earlier that we heard about, but we never actually saw, where he was like, what was it? It was like there was some tagline they pulled out of it where he was like, "This is just not at all acceptable. Like it's just like grossly inadequate or something." I think was somewhere close to what he said. And then it apparently there was a follow up to that where he just went on and he was like, "Oh, okay. So if this does go through, not only do I want Call of Duty on my platform day one, but I want to make sure that they have complete parity in terms of quality, even though my console is weaker than yours. I want to make sure that you don't have any exclusive content like skins or whatever, which is another thing that the FTC really got hung up on.
Isn't that something?
And I want to make sure that if it goes into Game Pass day one, that it also goes into PS Plus day one." And to which I was like, "I'm sorry, this man thinks he bought Activision."
I made a
crazy.
think about it like
said,
this
"You
man
bought
is
that?
talking
I
like
bought that."
he bought that. What are you talking about?
What an absolute asshat.
It's like when Umbra gets his YouTube millions and we like, Umbra, oh, you bought a new Ferrari? You know what? How about I get it on Mondays and Tuesdays?
Yeah, hey, can I get one of the tires off that Ferrari?
Wouldn't it be crazy if I did blow up like we blew up like that, Danny, and we just riding around in Lambos and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, you think you're better?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
Yeah, we can finally get you out of Chicago.
Behind the
someplace
scenes.
nice.
Oh, hey. No slander of Shot-Town.
All right, I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, that would be crazy to get to something like that. Never in my wildest dreams. Hell, I didn't think I would be doing this, to be honest. So that would be crazy. But yeah, so what did you guys think about this whole thing? I know you all spoke a bit on it, but what did you think of the audacity and gall for Sony? And it's not just Jim Ryan. It's just, I know he speaks up for his shareholders. He speaks up for them as a whole to basically dictate that Microsoft, who is above their position when it comes to money and actually acquiring Bethesda and Activision, to basically say, "Hey, we'll definitely do that if you do all these things." How did he think that was reasonable? How did he think that will go over? I wonder.
I'll compare it to a game that I recently played, Life is Strange Before the Storm. There's a bit in the first episode of that where Chloe goes to a party where there are drug dealers, and she gets into a fight with them, like a verbal fight.
Yeah.
One of them has a gun, one of them has a knife, and the other one is just a really big dude. And she starts mouthing off like she's gonna beat their ass. And I'm like, "You are a 15-year-old girl." That is the same fight that Jim Ryan is putting into this email. He's just like, "Yeah, man, I'm Jim Ryan. I'm PlayStation, dude. Like, I can do whatever I want. There's nothing you can do to stop me." And Microsoft is like, "You know that we're bigger than you, like
Right.
on every level, right? And that you didn't buy this, and also this is my house, and get out." Like,
yeah, it's the gall for me, right?
on one hand, it's not surprising because
It's not
like
surprising.
Jim Ryan just says some of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, and on the other hand, it's like there are things that you could have asked for that you would have gotten, and these are not them. Like, it feels like you are overstretching to a point where you're going to end up with nothing, and that's really stupid of him.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's like, you're fighting. You're not in a position of power. You have no strength here to argue from. And I would think.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's probably a situation where, just like he said in his original email, which I do think that he believes that, and he still believes that. He knew that Microsoft wasn't going to pull Call of Duty off of PlayStation, based on the price of it and the finances that would be lost, and the fact that people really don't switch, especially mid-generation. They don't switch consoles over a game. I think there's a lot of data out there. I talked to an EA developer who's been there a while, basically said that, EA learned the hard way that, people will switch games before they'll switch platforms. And that's even on a PC where you're just a click away. So, Jim Ryan, I think, kind of felt like, hey, he had nothing to lose. He's like, we're going to keep Call of Duty, so I might as well go for everything else beyond that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much what the play was there. But that should tell the judge something, right? Like, that should basically show sort of what the mindset was, and you combine that with the email and all that stuff. that they were never really worried about losing
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
You know what's weird? Speaking of the judge, because we're gonna get her verdict on like the. I think originally it was gonna be Monday, but maybe now it's been pushed back because the reasons. I don't know. We're gonna get her verdict sooner rather than later. I'm having this weird like feeling about it, where even though emotionally I don't really care about the Activision deal, like I don't really care about Activision games.
I agree.
I don't really
Well, I
buy
care about
any
some
of
of
them
the
anyway.
other IP, but like Call of
Yeah,
Duty
like, I don't
doesn't
really-
I don't care about that. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and like I didn't get into Diablo, like I just never played it, and it's probably really good, and probably would love it if I did play it, but I didn't. But like, yeah, there's just like nothing really in that catalog that I care about right now. So them buying Activision does nothing for me personally, and I've always said that, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of wish that they had done other things, and yet for some reason,
with you on that, Will,
there's this verdict coming due soon, and I'm like actively nervous about it. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
you get
man, I wonder what's
invested.
gonna happen.
Well,
And I'm
they
like,
turned
this
it
isn't
into
my money.
sport.
This isn't my company. Why do I care about this?
I mean, you got invested after a while, right? And it's,
I guess so.
you do, and it's something we can't.
Because
it's
you're a
just human nature.
fanboy.
Yeah.
I am. It turns out the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a little weird to me that as someone who doesn't enjoy any of their games that you would care, because for me,
I don't know.
I'm invested because I literally am invested.
You
So
know what
for
part
me,
of it is?
it hits my pocket. But
Part of it
is
for
it
me
is about
that
future
the-
acquisitions or?
No, part of it for me is that there's this one that the reason that at this point that I want the deal to go through more than anything is so that one dickhead lawyer on the FTC side will be wrong.
To lose, yeah.
Like he's just so
He's-
stupid,
he's
and he was
so
pissing me off
arrogant,
so much. And my
Yeah.
number one thing is I just want him to lose.
I hear you.
Oh
I
my
don't care
God.
who wins. I just want him to lose.
You know, and I kind of feel that way too with some of our Who brothers. I will say a lot of them talked with such arrogance and such assurity. I agree with you a little bit on that. I really do. But much like you, I didn't care for ABK. That wouldn't. I get why though. Business wise, it is the smartest move they
Oh
could
yeah.
have made.
Oh, for
But-
them it makes so much sense.
But like I didn't.
Yeah.
But if I had to make my pick, you already heard me many times on record
Capcom.
saying Capcom and
Yeah.
WB
WB.
games and the
Yeah,
license.
that's just why. What's funny is me, you, and Daniel
Yeah,
are,
we all
are
agree.
like spot. We all
All
agree.
aligned.
Our all three of us. Our top
Mhm.
two is WB, Capcom,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and that it's kind of weird because a lot of people have a bunch
I mean,
of
I'll
different
take
picks,
a
but
Sega. I ain't gonna
exactly,
take it out of bed.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sega
Yeah,
would have been
I'm
my
a-
second for Japan.
Sega, Sega's the one I like. The Sega would be exciting because I think it would benefit both sides. It
100%.
Because Sega, I grew up on Sega. Sega
Me too.
Genesis is way up there. Is one of my favorite
too.
consoles
Yeah.
of all time. And they have a backlog of dormant IPs that really don't make sense in the traditional model.
Yeah.
You can't really put real money behind it. Like just seeing, even you look at a game like Hi-Fi Rush and just thinking about maybe some of Sega's classic IPs, just getting that treatment, just getting that sort of level of production value and coming back. And I think that's why Bethesda was exciting, because you kind of assume that there's other things outside of Bethesda Softworks. There's a lot of studios there that were not selling games, and you wanted to see them get the opportunity to get exposure and Game Pass and things like that. But I agree with you guys. Activision never really excited me. I understand it from a business standpoint. I do think the thing I'm not sure about is like, okay, this gets shut down. Microsoft loses $3 billion plus all that time and everything else. What happens there? Because it could mean they just get aggressive in other ways, but it could also mean maybe the investors go, you guys, maybe we just focus more on AI. So like that we go back to that conversation.
They're not done. They're definitely get a shot because they have to do
Yeah.
just like what Netflix does. They have to bolster Game Pass. They have to.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You feel like they've gone. They've probably gone past the point of no return where I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
more than not, that's what they have to do. But I also worry that, okay, now they're going to spend time looking for mobile developers. And that's so freaking boring.
I
Like,
think
look-
I
That's one of the
agree with
reasons
you.
why I want this to
I think
go
that's
through,
going to
actually.
happen either way, though. I think here's the problem with if it doesn't happen with ABK for them, because they already passed on Zanga, which what might have been a mistake, might have been a
Yeah.
mistake on their part.
They-
So
they
there's
came to a
not a
point
lot
of
of
saying-
huge fish left
And now
after
Take-Two has
ABK.
them, right? Yeah.
Take Two
it's-
has them.
Yep.
I think it might take two.
Yeah.
That's
if they
Danny's
try
right.
to do
They
that,
could.
Oh,
we'll be facing
Danny's
this whole
right. They
ABK thing
absolutely
all
could.
over
They're
again. If they
they're
try
smaller than Activision Blizzard. I
That
think
doesn't
by
matter.
money.
That market
So, like,
cap is way smaller than ABK.
Yeah, so they could
Yeah.
go for it, I guess.
I can see
Here's
that.
my
I can
question,
see it
'cause I
getting
have two.
blocked if that happens. If this gets passed and they try to go off the Take-Two, I can see that one getting blocked. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Here's my question on this, and it's kind of twofold. Number one, well, I guess one's a statement. One of the reasons, like Retri said, that I do want this deal to go through is because they laid out these 3 rubrics for what they wanted.
Yes.
And Activision covers 2 of them, because what they wanted was PC gaming. They wanted to expand their reach in PC gaming in the US and Europe, which obviously Blizzard does that like better than pretty much anybody else on the planet. And then mobile in those same 2 markets. So if they get Activision, those 2 things are off the table. They pretty much covered it. I mean, they'd probably still make acquisitions in the mobile space, because like mobile makes a shit ton of money apparently. So they probably still like make some acquisitions in there, but it'd be smaller things. We wouldn't have to worry about them like going after Take-Two to get Zynga or whatever, right? But the third one was that they want to increase console and PC in APAC, which is Asia Pacific.
Eastern, yeah.
And so if Activision went through, their next acquisition would almost certainly be something Japanese. Whereas if it doesn't go through, I don't know what their next one would be. I also don't know how fast it would be. So that's my question to you guys is, if this doesn't go through, how fast do you think we start seeing other acquisitions from Xbox? Like how
If
they've
it
been sitting on
doesn't,
these acquisitions
very
for a while.
quickly.
That
If
is
it
a
doesn't,
good
very
question.
quickly.
You
If
know-
it does, I think there'll be a pause.
I'm
But
not
they
sure
started
actually, because I feel like they're going to have to go back to that drawing board. I mean, they might have plans already drawn out, but I figured
Yeah,
they'll
but
have
we know they hired people just to do
That's
this
true.
job over
Yeah.
like almost 2
Speaking-
years
I mean, do you
ago.
want to? I've
Speaking
got the
of
drawing
which,
board right here. You want to look at
I
it?
was just about to say, speaking of which,
Yeah.
that's a perfect transition to.
Got it right here, baby.
Yeah, there you go. That's it, baby. Go ahead
Okay.
and list them off.
Draw
Danny.
all
So
the
they
weird
narrowed it down to
lines.
17 things,
Yeah.
and they listed out their whole rubric. I won't go through it. Basically, they were just some of the cool things was they wanted to include things that bring them a new audience, or things that have like specific reach in either mobile or live service. And some of the things that they wanted to exclude was really funny, because their list of things they wanted to exclude was literally just like have lack of maturity in the business, have lack of like quality games, that sort of thing. They basically just were like, I don't want no scrubs. You know what I mean? It was pretty cool. But
That's
they
kind
narrowed
of
it
what they said
down.
along IO Interactive, and when it came to
Yeah.
Hitman, right? They were like,
Yeah.
well, they
Yeah.
haven't had a hit, no pun intended, in a while, except for Hitman. So we'll
they
just
narrowed it
let
down
them
to
be.
the following 17 studios, some of which are probably going to be relatively unknown to our audience at least. The first one is Behavior Interactive, which is Dead by Daylight, most notably, but back in the day they also did a shitload of licensed titles, like Lord of the Rings Conquest and Dante's Inferno, stuff like that. They did a ton. Like, they have such a long history, and so the reason that Xbox was looking at them was because A, they have a good burn rate, which means that they make more money than they spend, or they don't spend money like super fast, and that they have a mobile arm and would be capable of taking existing Xbox IP and just like making quick hit games out of it really fast. Then we have Housemarque. Obviously, that was off the table.
Right.
They're the people who did Returnal, Resogun, stuff like that. They wanted them because they make steady content, and their entire con on it was like, because this was back in 2021, in case anyone was curious about that. They were like, they're making a AAA game, but we don't know how that's going to turn out yet. So we don't know if they're capable of that. Turns out they were, because that game was really popular, even though I didn't care for it. But it's off the table regardless, so that's out the door. Then we had People Can Fly, who did Bulletstorm, Outriders, and if you
Love
have anything
this
to say,
one.
feel free to jump in at any time.
Love this one.
Solid. Yeah, I'm actually I'd actually be
very
grabbing them. I think they'd be a
Yeah,
good,
100%.
Well,
on
and they
that
could
one.
be a helper
part.
studio too. Just to say,
Well, yeah.
Yep.
And this, with some of the other ones that we're going to get to in a second here, there's actually been sort of taking steps, maybe not necessarily towards an acquisition, but towards a further partnership, because we just heard that People Can Fly is working on an exclusive title
There
for
you go.
for Xbox rather.
Yep.
And,
The things that they
Go ahead, sorry.
list pros for them, is that Outriders did really well despite its technical problems.
Yeah.
They thought that they could help correct, which is probably true. And they're the only con that they had is that they were, at the time in 2021, I don't know which games these would be, are currently working on 2 games, one for Take-Two and one for Square, which meant that for at least the foreseeable future, if they acquired them, they wouldn't be putting out games that would be exclusive to the Xbox. So it was like, we could buy them, but it wouldn't do anything for us for a while, so we may as well wait.
And speaking on, what was the one you named a second ago?
Housemarque?
People Can Fly.
Housemarque and People Can Fly.
Behavior?
Behavior, yeah. Behavior is a helper studio as well, I believe, right?
For sure. Yeah, they definitely have that capability. They have a decent amount of staff, and they basically the biggest thing that Xbox liked with them is that they work well and they work efficiently. They don't make like AAA things, but when they make a game, it comes out is basically all it was. It's like they make like steady content and they put it out consistently.
The best thing we can say about you is that your games come out.
One of the other
I see
concepts
Focus
that I
Active
didn't-
said it too. He says, they're major supporters too. I see you. Thank you, Focus. But another thing I was going to add is that People Can Fly. By the way, I believe they are if I'm not mistaken, aren't they a Polish studio or something like that, right? And,
I think so, yeah.
And what was pointed out is that people talked about the budget of the games that they're probably going to be making. What's up, Punty? They've talked about the budget of the
50
games.
to 60 million or whatever.
Exactly, and typically 50 or below is considered AA. So 60 is, I believe, is the line to where it goes to AAA. 60 and like 80, maybe 80 nowadays. Starting.
Well, if you've been listening to the FTC case, it seems like
200. It's got to be 200 million, right?
Yeah, it seems like the line of what is and is
100
not a
now.
AAA game
Pretty
is
much.
vague and vast.
And it's going up, I think, to be fair. I mean, nowadays we know it for sure.
Oh, probably, yeah.
But over there, they're actually what they get paid and what it costs to make a AAA game is very much lower than what it is over here in the States. So
yeah, it's Poland. It's Poland.
For them,
Yeah.
50 to 60 million is AAA versus us. It would
That's a
be
good point. That's a
80.
good point.
Yeah,
That's a very good point.
They
Yeah.
might be making something pretty big for Xbox, just to throw it out there. So
Mhm.
imagine grabbing them and putting them into the studio.
I got faith.
Yeah, me too.
I got faith in them for sure.
I actually did pull the Chat GPT. Sorry, you guys are gonna hate me.
See?
I-
He's already
I feel
using
like
it.
I feel like everybody in your community that is worried about chat like AI already hates me and has left. But I apologize.
Oh,
guys, I
no.
apologize. But no, I pulled that actually, because Jez and Rand were talking about it a few weeks ago. I sent that over to Rand and because I looked it up because I remember people talking about Poland and how cheap it was to develop there, and I always speculated like, heck, that's a good spot to plant a flag, eventually get a studio because you can poach over there.
Yep.
You can pay
Absolutely.
them more than anybody else and still be paying them less. than
That's
you
true.
would here.
Right.
So
Yep.
much,
And-
so true. Also,
and
it's
they-
a good foothold for them to possibly grab CD Projekt Red.
Well, there's a lot of talent. Like you don't even have to grab.
Well, CD Projekt has like a lot of weird extenuating circumstances because they're like partially owned by the government
true.
or
Yeah,
something.
that is true.
So I
Yeah.
don't know how all that works out,
Yeah.
but
And you don't have to buy them because they lost like half their staff right after they launched.
oh, you just hire that staff that.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of key talent left there, and there's a lot of studios popping up. A lot of studios growing really fast. You had like Techland,
I love that
was
one.
blowing up
Techland.
really fast.
And they were on the list too.
They sure
But-
were.
Yeah, they weren't on the 17, but
Not
they
the
were,
final.
They were in, yeah,
I
they
love
were
that
in
they were
close
on our list
conversation.
though. That's a good
Yeah.
indie
Same.
studio.
I agree.
But there's a lot of it, but the because the government's supporting gaming, I think a lot of people in that country are getting into game development, and so I pulled up the numbers. So we know Microsoft has a bunch of studios in in California. So does Sony, right? Like a lot of the big AAA's actually.
People love putting studios there, even though it costs $1 million.
Yeah, I don't get
Fortune.
that this day and age.
Like
I
a
Put
would-
them
Obsidian's-
in Missouri, where everything is cheap because no one wants to be there.
Yeah,
I grew up in Missouri.
Obsidian, Double Fine, InXile, who's like making a bigger game. Fucking the Initiative, like so they have a lot of them over there, and Sony has a bunch of them too. Like so, the average salary over there is 80,000, 120,000 annual
Jesus.
for developers.
Yeah,
If you go Poland, it's 20,000 to 50,000.
exactly.
Oh my god.
literally-
Dramatically
My
lower. I saw that.
Three
the other day.
times.
Yep.
So when you start talking about a AA budget in Poland,
Comes AAA real quick.
Mhm.
it's like 100. It's equivalent to like $100 million game.
That's
over.
Exactly.
crazy.
Well,
Yeah,
it used to be
more
the
smart.
case for Canada as well. Is I think specifically Montreal had a bunch of like tax breaks and stuff for game studios out there. But I think that recently went away, and so people aren't going to Canada anymore.
Oh,
So, yeah, maybe it'll be Poland now.
Canada. They might not be
but are
going
you-
even more.
do
So
you,
after this, you all trying to step in on this FTC case
That's
now.
shit.
No, but that's interesting. That's definitely more of a reason why Microsoft would probably, and they probably will grab people can fly. Matter of fact, I mean, typically any studio you see that they get,
they're building that relationship.
They are.
So like they're clearly
Yep.
interested in them,
Absolutely.
regardless of an acquisition. They're
Exactly.
definitely like getting closer.
and it's the same thing with Asobo and IOI. Like you see these.
yeah, there's a
things
bunch on the list
before-
actually. We'll get to.
Yep.
Speaking of which, the next one is Remedy, which is I think my favorite on the list
That's a
because
good
they've
one.
they've never made a bad game. Retry, never won. Retry, it's never happened.
Which
No.
game? What game am I talking about?
It didn't. None because nothing happened.
Didn't
Well,
they make?
that's hey,
No, they didn't.
That's an
No,
opinion.
they didn't. OBM. No, they
Didn't
didn't.
not a correct
Nope,
one, but
that
that's
game
an
didn't
opinion.
come out. OBM.
a game that
Don't
none of
talk
us
about
can
it.
remember. They
No.
made that.
No.
Oh my god, I know exactly what he's talking about.
That didn't happen.
I'm not gonna say it, but I know exactly.
No.
A little shooty.
No, don't worry about it. That didn't happen.
A little pew
Anyway,
pew,
they're my
pew.
favorite studio, and I love them, and there's
Did we
nothing wrong, and I can
explain
fix them.
I do love this studio.
Yeah, so
100%.
they're
This is a
most
good
known
one.
for Control and Alan Wake and Quantum Break and maybe Crossfire that one time, but don't worry about that.
Like I have respect for Remedy, but like they would
Yeah.
not be on my top.
Oh, they're on my top list for 100%.
They
I
would be
will
my-
fight and die for them.
Alan Wake 2
They
day
asked out
one
my,
for me.
I got a
100%
buddy,
social link.
Cap, by the way. Much love to Cap. He is a Alan Wake fanboy. Like he
Love
was hyped over
Alan
that
Wake.
over any other game coming out. That's his dream game. He wanted to see actually
Yeah.
announced. And when it was announced, I know he must have lost his shit. I know he did.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so their pro for them was they said, and this is true, that they're the last independent AAA narrative-driven developer, which is I think exactly what they need in their
I can see
lineup. So it's good that that's something that they're looking for. Also, they said their IP value is high, which is true. And the only con they had is that it's publicly traded, which makes it slightly more complicated for purchase.
Yeah.
And that their next game, which I don't know what it was, but it's already out at this point, is somehow tied to the Epic Game Store. So, but that's no longer an issue. So,
Well,
we'll see.
and a lot of developers at Remedy hate Microsoft for some reason.
Yeah,
they had
that's
issues.
true.
But I heard
That
they
is
got
true.
over
People
that.
would have
though,
said that
right?
about Obsidian a while ago, and
They'll
that
get
didn't
it.
seem to
Yeah,
stop
you can
them.
get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can make if you pay somebody enough, you'll get over.
Also, based on the
Mhm.
accent, they might be somewhere over in Eastern Europe. The accent of Mr. Lake. I don't know where he's from. Netherlands?
Yeah,
do
because they're
love-
Finland, right?
I don't know.
Remedy Finland. I think it's
not
Finland.
here. I know he had to fly like 12 hours to
Pretty
get here. So
sure.
wherever that puts
Let
you.
me hold on. Let me look it up. It's gonna bug me.
Well,
Yeah,
you look that
Finland.
up, and I'll go on to the next one, which
That's
was
Finland.
11-Bit Studios, who you may not know them. They're not a super popular studio. They did Frostpunk, Children of Morta,
yeah.
and This War of Mine, all of which are popular games, or at least names that are sort of known.
Good PC developer, yeah.
They're a good PC developer, which is basically the pro that they have for them.
And they got a
recently
deal with
they've
them.
signed a deal. Yeah, they've recently signed a
Yep.
deal where 11-Bit Studios are going to be putting all their games into Game Pass. So they didn't acquire them, but maybe they got a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we had IO Interactive, which is, of course, we already talked about them. They do Hitman and nothing else, really. They're working on Project Dragon and a 007 game that is still TBD on the release date on that one.
Now the Project Dragon for them, that's supposed to be like
that's the exclusive
a
one.
first-person shooter, right? Is that the case?
I think it's like a fantasy game,
I'm trying
actually.
to remember. I think it's fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
think
called
it's
because the
fantasy.
other name for it was Project Fantasy, wasn't
Project
it?
Fantasy. Yeah, I think it's. I
Yeah.
want to say it's like a. I don't know the
I've heard
like gameplay
conflicting.
type. But
I've heard
yeah.
conflicting for that because I heard at one
Yeah,
point it was
it's a
fantasy, then
fantasy
I heard it was
game.
first-person shooter supposedly.
I
I
got
hope
no
it's
idea.
fantasy. That would be a very I would
It's
love to see what they
definitely
could do with that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the ones they wanted because they have a lot of experience and because apparently they own their own engine. They own the Glacier engine, which is something that they look for. Also, is just like, hey, if we can also get some technology out of this, then that raises our our net value, which is always possible, always a positive.
Yeah.
And the only con they had is that apparently Square maintains a minority stake in them, which is I didn't know that, but it turns out that's true.
doesn't mean anything though.
And apparently they have a history of overextending themselves and then having to downsize. So they're not
That is true.
they're not a particularly well managed studio, it turns out. So that was their. They also specifically note that they don't know why Square Enix let them go, and they're like, something might be wrong here. They were like,
yeah,
I don't know what the
didn't they
situation
point
here
out?
is.
Yeah, I think in that one, correct me if I'm wrong. In that one specifically, that sheet, didn't they point out possible management problem in
They did.
iOS?
Well, there were a couple
Yeah.
that they had possible management problems, but that was one of them. yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it could be right. I mean, they
Oh,
do
they just
hire and
got-
fire constantly. So
You're talking about Square Enix? I mean, they just changed over.
no,
media.
talking about
IO
IO
Interactive
specifically.
Oh, IO.
Yeah,
Okay.
talking about IO, but Square too.
But
Square
yeah.
definitely does that.
Square
We know they do
definitely-
that. They shed a lot of fat apparent. Well, the fact that they shed were all my favorite studios. So
Yeah,
that's
they
why
shed all the
I don't
good
give a
parts.
crap about I don't give a
Yeah.
crap
Yeah.
about Square anymore.
I
So,
only
personally.
eat the fat with old Square.
It turns out, or at least the stuff that they consider fat.
Yeah.
The next up was Rebellion, who I don't really know. They make Sniper Elite, which is fine enough, and Evil Geniuses.
You know, I can
Yeah.
see them
They
actually
said-
being acquired because they
Yeah,
have
they
been
said
in
the
Game Pass
positive
with a
was
lot
that
of their
they're-
releases. Yep.
Yeah, that's basically what they said in the thing as well, is they were like, they make a lot of steady content. It's not necessarily the best content, but it's stable and it comes out and people seem to like it and performs decently. Also, apparently they own their own engine. It's called Asura.
Yeah.
But their con was questionable
Little too
quality
close
and
from
that they
home.
thought it overlapped with some of their
A
other
little too
stuff.
close to home.
Maybe they didn't want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they want to confuse the name with their servers, so they're like, nah.
That's
moving
possible.
on. Yeah.
Then it was Bohemia Interactive, who does Arma. This was just like, hey, people like Arma, right? And then their con was like, do people still like Arma? I don't know. They haven't put out a game in a while. Do people still like Arma?
PC gamers, maybe. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think
Then
it's a
there was
console
Larian,
game
but we
thing.
already talked about Larian, so we don't need to go into that.
Yeah, Larian will be a great pickup though. Just like I said, to cement them
Larian
as
would
that
be good.
WRPG powerhouse. I mean, they already.
I mean, I
are.
love RPG, so I'm not
They're
going to
a
say
good-
no.
they're a great
to
studio.
that.
Yeah.
But my only hang up on it is the same one they have, which is I don't know that they need it. Like I don't think that they
They
necessarily
don't.
need
They
to just like
definitely
completely own Western RPGs.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not needed.
I
Like,
think
fill the
I
gap.
think Western RPGs are like Jello. You can never have too much, right?
I mean, you're right. and I
Also,
agree
that's
with that.
also the right answer.
But if-
Yep. That's
But if I'm
also
going
the
out to the grocery store and I've already got Jello in my fridge, I'm not buying more Jello. You know what I mean?
All right.
Well, when it
But
comes
if
to
you give me
Western
more
RPGs,
Jell-O,
I
Maybe
will
you'll need it soon though, because you'll eat the Jello you have in your fridge.
There
That's
you go.
right.
Yeah, we got to
You're making some good points. You're making some good points.
You have a back catalog of Jello.
Next up is another one that they've already seemingly formed a really close partnership with, which is Thunderful. This is a team that it seems
Yeah.
like the vast majority of their games already go into Game Pass, namely The Gunk, Lost in Random, a bunch of these like smaller indie games. Again, they were like, these are smaller games, but they're generally well received, and they come out often, so they're good for us. They also
Yeah, good
specifically
cadence.
point out that they think Thunderful is Nintendo-esque, which I don't think I agree with, but you know, I guess that they hold them in very high regard, so
I
that's
don't
something.
see them up to that.
I don't
point.
agree. I don't
Yeah,
agree
I
with
don't
that one.
either.
Now,
either.
Thunderful, if I'm not mistaken, guys, let me know because I'm not. I feel like I'm pretty sure. Didn't they publish Planet of Lana?
They did.
Yeah,
I think they
I
made it.
love
Which
Planet
is-
of
which is
Lana.
I love that
is
game.
Awesome, by the
Yeah,
way.
I
That game
love
is
Planet of
really
Lana.
good.
Best music. It's got to be up there.
Oh,
in the
gorgeous
best
music.
Great
You talk
music.
about the inside
but,
team. That
Well, the next time I'm
intense,
throwing up
but
a file,
yeah,
I'll
that's
play
an
that
inside game. That is
Yeah,
100% an
absolutely.
inside game, but Nintendo-esque, definitely not.
Yeah, I would
No,
not say
not
Nintendo.
that. Definitely
Definitely
not
not.
Nintendo-esque. No, I agree.
Especially
Yeah.
considering that game wouldn't have been out at the time they wrote this.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but they did
Um,
have Steam World Dig, right? Like,
You know what I'm
Yeah,
seeing
there's
a
Steam World Dig
pattern
and all
of?
those
I'm
ones,
seeing,
yeah.
like you mentioned the whole economic thing. They're from Sweden. Like I'm seeing a pattern here of people they're
Possible.
looking at, so they don't have to pay them as much.
Yeah.
Thunderful
Well, the next
from
one here-
Sweden.
Go ahead.
Sweden.
The next one here is Bungie. Obviously, we know what's going on with that. I don't feel like we need to really talk about that. But yeah, at the time, their con for it was that they have a really high burn rate, and this was another one that they pointed out has management problems. They were like, it has a really high burn rate, and we don't know what's
They
going on
know.
with them.
Yeah.
They seem really wishy-washy on being owned, and also they have NetEase has a minority stake in them, which is a
Which
pain in the ass.
which team was this? I missed
Bungie.
Bungie. Oh yeah.
Yeah, apparently Bungie has a really high burn rate, which, considering their track record of having to get bought by a publisher before they can put out another big game, makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Not surprising. You know,
I
I didn't
you have
want-
somebody else
I'll
fund
be
it and then
honest
they
with you.
leave.
I know a lot of
Thanks for
people,
dinner, bud.
a lot of nostalgia is centered around Bungie, where people are like, oh, get them back for Halo. They don't want to make Halo. That's one.
They don't want to make Halo.
Two,
They don't want to make Marathon.
I'll be honest with you. Bungie, as much as I love them as far as what they did with Halo, I did not want Microsoft to acquire them. I
No.
promise I did not. That would at least because I think we have more than enough shooters. As
We're good.
terrible as 343 has been in many instances, Bungie is not coming back to do it. So it's a waste of time to try to get them for that, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
but
I would've
also
taken
like,
them.
the shooting
Yeah.
of Halo Infinite was never the problem. So like they
Agreed.
have
I
the
agree.
core of it down. They
It's the
just need to
content.
do content good and better.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's
You know what I
exactly
mean?
what it is.
More often.
Well,
Yeah.
I do think that they, it's ironic that, with this whole Activision thing, because I do think they learned with their time with Activision how to, the way to approach a gas game. Because say what you want about all the issues and how mad the community gets a lot of times, that game has, from a rough start to like where it's constantly at on the top most played games, they figured something out that keeps bringing people back and figured out that loot, that addictive loot formula. And I would love for some of that to rub off on 343.
I agree
like,
with
just
you
because
there. I agree with you
and
there.
then and then even they are more advanced with the engine, which is they were actually both like their engine is it's a fork of the Blam engine. It's the Halo engine, but
Yes.
their own direction with it. So you would think that there'd be some maybe overlap. And the final thing I would say there is it's another form of Jello, so you can never have too much Jello.
I mean, like my thing
With
is
you,
like
Sometimes you want pudding, OBM. all right?
yeah, that's the thing. I want pudding. See, Danny got it right, and that's the thing. Like with Bungie, you're just gonna get more Jello. You're gonna get more of that. And the thing is, Xbox already had the thing of being a shooter box. They got more than enough shooters coming.
Yeah.
We got an overabundance of shooters, actually, to be fair, because it's also the dominant shooter box we have. We talk about the home of our WRPGs. It's the home of first-person and third-person shooters too.
Especially after
they have a
ABK.
lot, especially after ABK.
Yeah, if ABK goes through, yeah.
So
Then
did
it's
we-
crazy.
So did
And
we
there's
really
no-
need
Didn't you-
Bungie?
did
No,
you see
we
that
really
thing?
didn't. You know what I mean?
It was a while ago at this point, but EA was like, yeah, we actually really hope it goes through because then we won't have to care about Call of Duty anymore, and Battlefield will just be like the biggest independent thing.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's like, cool, yeah,
Yeah.
go for it, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't feel like Bungie would have been the thing for me. Like, if I would have had any say, I'd been like, please don't go for them.
No, but it does make sense for PlayStation. I think it makes a lot more
does.
sense for
Oh,
them. You know what I mean?
100% agree.
Big time.
So
big
I
time.
totally understand why they made that move.
Yep.
The next up here is the one that I'm gonna go on a limb and say probably no one has heard of because I hadn't heard of them. So maybe I'm making the assumption that you guys are as stupid as me. But here we go. It was called Manticore Games. They've put out one game. It's called Core. It's a game. It's really stupid. It's not really a game. It's a content creation platform like Project Spark or like Roblox or something like that. And
That's
very
your
specific.
reason. That's why.
This is one
don't
of those
feel bad.
things where I think the person who was filling this out back in 2021 was just like really in his feels about this studio in particular. He's like, no, dude, Core for sure. Core though, this is going to be the thing. The only like he literally says in it, this could be the next big thing. And then his cons for it were just like, hey, they've only made one thing and no one knows what it is. Also, there's a lot of competition in this space. But trust me, dude, bro, this is top 17 for sure.
You want to know? You want to know where their people came from? Electronic Arts, Blizzard,
Yeah, that would make
Respawn, Xfire, Roblox,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Crystal
so-
Dynamics, and Zynga. So that's probably why.
sound
I think
like-
it's it
The
might have
way
been
you said
it might have been
Zynga
people
sounded like
you know.
Trump saying China. Zynga.
Yeah.
Zynga.
It's Zynga in China.
Zynga.
Well, you
Yeah,
have to
I
think about it.
I say things weird.
Well, you have to think
Thanks for
about
thanks for pointing it out.
Zanga.
Zynga.
I wonder though. That's interesting because the one thing I was kind of wondering about is they really didn't seem to be, and you wouldn't expect Microsoft, especially Nadella, after what he said. After they got Bethesda, that they're not going to be going after like, what do you call like a project? Like in the NBA, sometimes you draft somebody who doesn't know how to play basketball, they can jump through the through the roof, and you think you can train them how to play the game.
Yeah, we see it in wrestling all the time.
Yeah,
Vince McMahon will hire a guy who's 7 foot tall but cannot walk. It'll be like, I think we can fix him.
Yeah, and I think they solve things with like from a different level with like NXL and Compulsion, and they could see the potential there, but and they've gotten away from that. But then you think about like Minecraft, like who would have predicted Minecraft would become Minecraft or Roblox? Would
Right.
become
That's true.
Roblox.
Yeah, you want to
So-
take the chance. Yeah, you want to get on our early. I'm looking at this core thing, dude. It doesn't look bad.
Yeah,
Like the
I know.
builder of it,
I
like building
never
your
heard
own
of it.
world
You know,
type
the
of
thing
thing.
is though, didn't we already have that? What was that game they had? I'm pretty sure you
Project
all remember.
Spark.
Project
Yes.
Spark.
Spark.
I don't think they want
Which
to go
failed
backward to that. It
miserably.
failed,
Project Spark didn't
exactly.
work. Dreams didn't work.
Exactly.
Dreams
Actually,
did
one
not
of the-
work either. Dreams was
One
more
of the things
successful
that
than
they
Spark,
list as a reason why they, as a con for this, is they specifically named Dreams, and they said it's a similar
Yeah.
idea and it failed.
is.
And that was back in 2021 before it had been shut down. So they were
Yeah.
like, hey, by the way, Dreams sucks actually.
It's hard.
By the
It's
way,
hard.
I love the idea of this. It's just nothing has been successful with it outside of like kind of like
yes
Minecraft.
and no. I mean,
know what
Roblox
I mean?
makes a lot of money,
Well,
although it's
okay,
a total
sorry,
scam
Roblox.
to rip off
I always forget
the
about
efforts of
Roblox.
children.
Yeah.
And that's literally what it is.
Genius.
They
I know.
trick children into creating content so that they can sell it.
It's very true.
It's 100% a scam on the same level as like, you know how like Star Citizen is like, hey, we're gonna tell people
Right.
making a game and then charge them for a game that's never gonna come
That's
out.
not there. Yeah.
There is a subcategory of video games called scams, and this is that. But also, so like Roblox makes a ton of money, and I think the new Fortnite thing is relatively popular. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
the
Like there
builder,
is examples of this working.
It's
but-
because they're using Unreal. I'm just kidding.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah, probably
There
Five.
you go.
Under
know,
five.
speak to my heart. Like I know Roblox. Like this shit, I couldn't do something.
I've never once played Roblox, nor will
Me
I.
either. I have zero interest in trying to play that game. It's gonna be honest.
I also said I'd play Minecraft. I didn't do that either. So
as a 28-year-old guy, if I start playing Roblox, I'm pretty sure I get put on a watch list. So
right. We got us one, folks. We got
him. There he is.
Does he have a mustache?
Right. Yeah, Danny. You know what, Danny? You need to grow out just a regular, cut your beard and just have the mustache.
I did actually for a while when I had. Yeah, well, I was getting jaw surgery, and so I had to shave my beard for that. And so for like a day, I shaved it to just the mustache, and I look like just the person you would want your daughter to be the furthest away from.
Yeah, it was think about these high school girls.
It was not a good look.
They keep getting younger. The older I get.
Anyway, moving quickly on. The next one was Supergiant, which is a fantastic studio.
Man.
Everyone loves them.
That's
they
a good
make
one.
Fire Transistor Bastion.
The
amazing studio. The only real con they had for them was that they were like, I think they probably want to stay independent, and I think that's probably true.
I'm sure they do. I mean, Moon said the same thing.
Probably until you come in with the big check.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Then you don't.
Also, they are a very small team. I don't know how many, but it's like sub 50. It's very small.
Yeah, that's pretty small. But you know, I love them though. Like I didn't think I would care for those types of games. But
me either. But I do now.
After playing
Thanks,
Hades
Game Pass.
like I did, I beat Hades 40 plus times. I think 47 times.
I will shill for them all day. I have a friend of a friend who works there, and I will happily shill for his games whenever he wants.
Oh yeah.
But also their games are just really good, so it makes it easy.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And the Hades was so well done. Like for it to be like a 2D sprite, like kind of side scroll. Well, not side scroller because it's kind of top downish a little bit. But for it to be that type of game, you would have kind of thought like it wouldn't be too in depth. But no, it's actually deep in the lore and everything, and how they explain how who was who and everything like that. Actually, really love
that's
that
why
game.
that's why Game Pass is picking up that 33 Immortals because it looks so much like Hades, dude.
And I'm
well,
right
that's
now
from the Spiritfarers guys.
It is.
I don't know what their team is called, but they're also good. Spiritfarers was really good. Well, narratively, the gameplay of it was kind of meh.
I gotta try that.
Yeah.
And Bushido
made me
Bushido
cry.
said you get the Chris Hansen experience, by the way, if you get the mustache like that.
See,
have a seat right here. I was always amazed by how he was like, have a seat. And they were like, okay. Like it's too late now. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Getting off
good.
Getting off topic. No, but Hades would be, imagine getting that team. I think that would be excellent.
Hades 2 is coming out soon. Looks phenomenal. I forget where they revealed that. I think it was on some Jeff Keighley.
Was during the VGAs. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, would actually love. I can see that actually coming to Game Pass too. By the way,
I think it'll come to Game Pass. I don't know if it'll be day one, but it'll come there eventually. It's just going to be a really good game. I'm really excited for it.
Yep.
The next one they said was Crytek, and they said all of the same things that I already know about Crytek, which is they have a lot of experience. They're proficient in live services, apparently. I don't know. They're like, we can get the Cry engine, which is good. But then all their cons were like, hey, also they're really bad at optimizing their games. Their management is terrible, and they have a lot of overlap with Xbox Game Studios. So like, maybe we shouldn't get them.
Yeah. I don't even like that. I don't like the fact that they're on this list. They should have been bumped, in my opinion.
I think they literally just want the engine. Yeah. I think that's the biggest part.
I think it's the engine. Yeah.
Well, I wonder about that too, because the game engine, like it is always impressive to look at. The visuals, but to have a really effective, great game engine, you have to have more than the potential to make really pretty graphics. Yeah, it has to be something you can iterate with fast. That can, you can bring in developers and they can learn it quickly. And we've already seen what happens when an engine isn't easy to pick up.
That's famously why the Creation Engine is so mod heavy is because the Creation Engine is really easy to pick up and just like learn.
Right.
You can basically just everything works exactly. It just works. Hashtag it just works. Todd Howard. Like it's a very easy studio engine to work with. So the fact that honestly, that's probably a good portion of why Microsoft wanted to buy them, because they love having that tech, and they've got the id tech too. Damn, they picked up a lot of good stuff.
They absolutely did. Also too, I believe Bethesda had a streaming thing they were using. I forgot the name of it. It was Orion, I think it was, which they used for streaming, that they said had better like latency apparently than what xCloud was using, if I'm not mistaken, at a point. So that
I don't know the specifics of it, but that was they definitely did have some streaming technology that they were working on. I remember that.
Just to throw it out, we are 2 hours plus in. Guys, if you are in the chat right now, thank you for being here with us. You could be anywhere in the world tonight, but you're here with us. I don't know why. No, but seriously, if you all could, please hit the like button. And if you have not subscribed to us, do so. We are kind of going over right now, so I guess we gotta. Danny,
Okay.
I'll let you read the rest of this, and we can kind
Yeah,
of
I'll
skim
wrap this
through
up
the
real
other
fast.
topics.
The rest are pretty easy to get through.
Yep.
We got Play Dead. We already talked about them. They do Inside and Limbo, and they're working on that Cocoon game apparently. I don't know. Like they're a critically acclaimed
That's a
studio.
different
People like them.
studio. That's people from that studio is making. Cocoon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
then I don't know what their third game is. Apparently, whatever their next game is, it's in Unreal Engine. We learned that. I guess it's not Cocoon. I don't know. They're a critically acclaimed studio. People seem to generally like them. Limbo and Inside never really did anything for me, but like I respect the hustle. But their only con for them was that they're a small team, and that were at the time they were uncertain about their future because some of the studio heads had like recently left, and I think since then they haven't put a game out. So like maybe they were right. Then we had Paradox Interactive. They do the PC games. They have 9 studios. This is a publisher. They do Age of Wonders, Stellaris, Crusader Kings. They mostly publish the stuff that they actually put out. Very limited. Just basically Age of Wonders, Stellaris, Crusader Kings. They publish a ton of other stuff.
Yeah.
But they said the thing that they really liked about Paradox Interactive is that A, there's 9 studios, so there's a lot of workforce that you can maybe put on other things. And B, there's they consistently put out a steady flow of DLC for their existing titles, which meant that there's a high number of like money made per title. So they're really happy about that. And their con was that they were a publicly traded company that's worth over $2 billion, which makes it difficult. And at the time, Tencent owned 5%, but now Tencent owns 9%. So I guess that's only made it worse for them.
That's another studio that's a little bit underrated. On the PC side, they're pretty good.
Yeah,
they have a lot of former. One of their studios, Hairbrained, is run by guys who used to run FASA. That was the Mech Assault, Crimson Sky.
Oh, now you're talking.
cool.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
They got some good talent there. They don't usually have high production value.
Also, out of
another-
Sweden, another Sweden.
Makes sense.
A lot of
and
employees
then-
there. Almost 650 people in the last count last year. That's crazy high.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
a lot of teams.
I got some numbers. Yeah.
A lot of small teams though. I would like they have a lot of talent when it comes to game design. I would love to see them get some production value in there. Just
Yeah.
take that-
The last thing on the list is just Sega. We've
No
talked
big
about
deal.
Sega. There's a lot to be said about it.
No big deal.
They're a really good pickup for them. I think as far as next publisher purchases, this would be not my pick, but it would be my prediction. I think this is the one that makes the most sense for them. Based on the rubrics that they have put out,
Publisher,
this meets
yeah.
checks the most of their boxes.
And they
Not
have
necessarily
a
my
great
box.
relationship, as we all know too. And Sega
An amazing
spoke
relationship.
out on it, absolutely. So I can see it. I'm just gonna be honest though. I don't want Sega. I know. I'm
Oh,
sure
no.
Everborn's ears are twitching.
Yeah, if
right
Everborn
now.
heard you, he jumped in the chat.
Oh, no,
He'd
he's
be here
coming.
for another
He
hour.
can jump in at any time too, because he's already added to the show, so he could probably jump in
yeah.
and curse me.
I already
I'm
made
on a different
my-
page. I think Sega would be an amazing pickup. I think it would be really, really good for them. It's just it wouldn't be my number one pick. That's all.
No, I agree with you there.
Same.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. Like it would work for them. And I listen. I love the Yakuza game, so I would absolutely love that. I do love Sonic, although the recent games haven't been as great as his
Just
classic
that
ones.
Radio Future.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
that's right.
an interesting
Crazy
thing to
Taxi
point out
Driver.
here
Yeah,
is
Crazy
that
Taxi.
Sega has only moved to be more appealing based on assuming they have the same rubric for what they're looking at for a studio now that they had in 2021. They have only become more approachable because one of the cons that they had here was that there were a lot of other verticals that they didn't necessarily want to buy. But since then, Sega has split the Sega Group Corporation (SHQ)
Right. Sega
has
Sammy,
been
yeah.
split into a separate sub company. I forget the exact word, subsidiary underneath Sega. So it's still the same company right now, but could be sold off independently. So they could just buy that. So that's a big point for them. Also, they've bought Rovio, famously
Which is a big deal.
the Angry Birds developer.
Yeah,
so
mobile.
being as how one of the things that they want
That
is
makes
to
sense for mobile too. I can
get
see
mobile
Mhm.
development.
Yeah.
Also, I think there's like a Sonic Run game that's really popular. I remember Everborn talking about that. I don't do mobile stuff, so I really don't know what the
They're-
popular mobile stuff is.
They're
but-
very
Yeah.
underrated PC developer too. That's actually where
Yes. Oh,
they
Total
made a
War is
lot of-
amazing. It's one of my favorite
Yeah,
games.
they made a lot of their comeback with the PC studios. So
Mm.
Creative Assembly.
Creative Assembly is phenomenal. They made a
They're pretty solid. I
yeah
agree.
they made a bunch of like historical Total War games, and everyone was like, these are pretty good, but then people stopped talking about them, and then they started doing the Warhammer ones, the fantasy Warhammer ones, and it completely revitalized the thing, and now it's like the biggest thing in the
I
world.
guess,
Those-
It's-
and
I
those-
guess it depended on
they
the IP
sell
they
it.
were working on.
yeah, if you like strategy games, it's like top tier. It's so
Yeah.
good.
And it sells a lot more than people think it does.
Yeah, and
also,
tons of
as
DLC.
and as a and it's sort of a consolation. They were the developer that made Alien Isolation, so I think they have more
Yep.
talent to do more than
Yeah.
just RTSs if they were given the
Yeah.
the
Yep.
lead.
And if you want to get into
money,
the historical
yeah.
aspect of it, they did also help out with Halo Wars. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
true. They did. You know, like I get it. I get like the support studios they would get out of it. I do get like the IP. I do get the mobile part of it. It's just
Yeah, their
that
IP catalog is massive.
It
But
is.
their
So good.
untouched, their untouched catalog is
let me tell you about
is
Golden Axe real
huge.
fast.
I agree. Oh, imagine they did a modern Golden Axe.
Shinobi.
Shinobi.
Oh,
man.
Shinobi, yeah.
Hey, Shinobi could be the new Ninja Gaiden.
Hey, do they own that Bucky O'Hare
Oh.
thing you were talking about? Or is that,
I should look. If I look into it and they did somehow, I will laugh my ass off. But you know,
is that a game or just a show?
I think they had a game for Bucky at one point
Okay.
on Nintendo.
I think there
something
was a
like that.
game actually. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was. But
The relationship with Sega too, like with Game Pass, is unreal. Like if you actually look at how many titles from Sega that have been Game Pass the last couple
It's
of
been a
years, it's
lot.
insane.
it's been a lot.
It's
Well,
a
and did
lot.
you see the interview that the I think he was the CCO or something of Sega had? I don't know if it happened today, but it came out today.
Oh, talking about
Yeah,
the possible
relationship and
acquisition.
such.
Where he
Yeah.
heard about it and he wasn't like offended. He was like,
He was
"We're
flattered.
super honored that they see
Yep.
us in that
Yeah.
way. We have a better relationship with them than we have with anybody else. We really
That
genuinely
sh-
love them."
that
Like he was
shocks
really
me.
positive. And then at the
Yeah.
end, he was like, "But we're not looking to be acquired right now."
Yeah, but that might have been him just doing like little like.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
if you already know that you're going to lock up with a
Exactly.
certain publisher, you're not going to be like, "We're looking to be acquired," because then
Exactly.
other people are going to start coming at you.
True.
And you're gonna be like,
Think of this
Yeah.
too. Not that this is a hugely popular game, but Xbox has a good relationship now that they're trying to get Call of Duty over to Nintendo,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and Nintendo. Sega owns Bayonetta. Nintendo's been publishing Bayonetta, I think the last
Since the
two
last-
games. Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
we would
Well,
have
do you
Bayonetta
count-
as well, which I think is kind
There
of
was
cool.
one that wasn't an action game. Do you count that one?
Oh, that new one
No.
announced you're talking about.
It was like Cereza
Oh,
and the
yeah,
something
that-
something
Yeah.
dum dum. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that. I was shaking my head at that one. I
But
was
they
like, what is
part 1
happening?
and 2 of Bayonetta.
My friend who likes
were
those
on
games said it was
PlayStation
good,
and
so it's
Xbox,
good
though,
for
I
that fan
believe,
base
right?
apparently.
Okay, well
I'm
there you
pretty
go.
sure
But
part
yeah,
1
their
and 2 of
catalog
Bayonetta
is
was
once you
on
really
Xbox and PlayStation. But
yeah, once you
Bayonetta-
deep dive
Bayonetta
into their
3 is
catalog, it's
exclusive.
freaking insane.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
like I said, they have crazy IP. The thing is, though, I think that Sega is it's kind of like the Indiana Jones situation to me, where
Yeah.
we love Indiana Jones, we appreciate the
Right.
license, we understand its significance. It's just that he's not as relevant as he used to be. I think that's Sega's thing now.
Yeah.
I think they're just not relevant like they used to be.
Well, they need that. I mean, like, look, I'm not excited about Sega either per se, but business wise, it's the
makes
thing that
sense.
makes the most amount of sense to
It does.
for Microsoft. They
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
that Eastern foothold,
yeah,
and if you can't get Capcom, if you can't get Bandai,
or
you go for
Square.
or
yeah,
Square.
Bandai would be a really good one, but that
Bandai
was
Bandai
would
would be okay with it.
that one also has
exceptionally
a lot of confusion in terms of like different verticals, and
Ownership,
they haven't split off
yeah.
their gaming into a different section. So
Right.
that one feels very unlikely to me. But in terms of just specifically their gaming portfolio, you're right. That one would be really
that
good.
would be problematic probably for them too, Danny, because
It
Bandai
would.
Namco is the biggest, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest Asian developer out there, bigger than
in terms of in terms of like
size of the
size,
studio and
yes.
such,
In terms
yeah.
of market cap, I don't think so.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think the market cap was smaller, but I can't remember. I know
but yeah,
Square.
well,
I know
that's because
Square
they
and Sega are
also-
right next to each other in market cap. Or
Yeah,
very,
well,
like,
that's because
within a
Bandai Namco
billion.
also does like a bunch of toys and like cards and like just all
Right.
kinds of nonsense. Like they have so many other verticals.
And speaking of Sega, though, just to throw out there, I was surprised to see that their buyout price would be. It's like what, $2 billion? I thought it would be more than that.
It's
Well, okay, but
their net
that's
worth
that was years
for
ago.
all of Sega Sammy is at like $5 billion.
It's
if
at
you were
5.
just buying
Yeah.
Sega, it would be
Then it-
less.
Okay.
It would be
theoretically.
almost half of that because they did
Yeah.
say that they make almost exactly 50% of all of Sega Sammy's money
Mhm.
from the gaming division.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
if you take the 5.2 billion, look, they're probably
They would
the
overpay
price
for
would
it, though, is the
it
other
would
part.
right.
They
If the
would
price would
overpay,
probably
for sure.
end up
They'd do a
being
premium.
between 5 and 6 billion is my guess
I see.
because they're going to, you know what I'm saying? If they're
Yeah.
getting
Yeah,
just
you
the
would
gaming
100% make
divisions,
sense.
then they're gonna pay a premium.
Yeah.
So that's
Makes
but
sense.
dude, I mean that's couch cushion money.
Now,
Are you kidding me? Like that's
one of the
nothing to
things, just
Microsoft.
to move us to this last topic, we'll go on, and it's going to be quick, by the way, everybody. And this is for you, Bobby Hawk. one of the acquisitions was going to be Square, and I said it before here and on other
Someone was on there,
podcasts.
Bleh.
The podcast as far, but Microsoft was actually going to acquire Square to get into the gaming business. So how sweet would it be for them to actually acquire them in general?
You wouldn't.
It would be.
I hate it.
It would
Here's
be
the
sweet
thing.
to me because the petty side of me.
You
would
just,
win
I know
out.
that's the only reason you
That's
want
the
it is
only
for the
reason.
salty
There are
tears.
aspects of it that I would
Yes.
enjoy, and they are all the petty ones. In terms of me actually
Yes.
enjoying things, like I don't know if we're gonna still talk about it. We were gonna talk about Final Fantasy 16 a little bit.
That's what I'm moving to. Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16. Ooh,
So
it has. So
before you
I'm
get
not
to
gonna
it,
say it's a
then, let
bad
me
game.
preface it then. So
Yeah.
So Square would be the one that they were trying to acquire too. So imagine them grabbing Square. Now listen, I know some people are like Square. But listen, Final Fantasy is one of the Mount Rushmore staples of gaming. There's no denying it. I wouldn't even say Mount Rushmore. That's not fair to put it as the top 4. Let's just say it's one of the staples of gaming. If you think of gaming, Final Fantasy is one of those games that come to mind.
Yeah.
Now, so
Dragon Quest too.
Dragon Quest, sure, but like I would say I think Final Fantasy has more cash and mental in the mental
Here in the West for sure. In the
Yeah.
East, it's
fair
questionable.
point. Fair point.
East is, yeah.
Fair point. To be fair, but then they have both, so why not both, right?
Yeah, you just
It's
it's
a
a win-win.
W either way, exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine them grabbing that. That would definitely hold them up as far as the eastern side of things, and it would draw lots of our Hoove brothers to the Xbox. Just to say.
Would
Also,
it, though?
yeah,
I think the Hood brothers would just cry about it. And
They
then
would
not
cry.
I, think they
Cry.
would just, I agree. I don't think
They
they
would
would
cry for
They
sure,
would just
but it's
be
like-
pissed about it forever.
Oh yeah, they'd be pissed. But like
They wouldn't be the
so-
ones
so
who
much
would
you can
switch.
do.
There
at the
would be
same
people
time.
who would.
I honestly think if they buy Japanese, big Japanese companies, like publishers, even smaller publishers like Sega,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that they would keep them multi-plat, not
think
just
so, too.
because of
definitely
regular-
would.
Yeah.
I agree.
yeah, not just because of regulatory, but you also have to think about the talent.
Yep.
And you got to think about it. Like if you're from the U.S., like I'm from the U.S., if I was developing video games and I knew that like hardly anybody in my country had a console to buy my video
true.
game,
Mhm.
you know, that
That's
would make
true.
me not want to develop. I would want to go develop.
No,
for
you're
a company
right.
where-
You're not
Yeah,
wrong.
It would
yeah.
be like
I
buying
agree
EA
with
and
them.
making all of their stuff exclusive to Stadia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be all
True.
multi.
Yep.
It would
It'd be
just be
all.
stupid.
It would.
Yeah, it'd be all.
And the
mul-
backlash would get be
You'd
ridiculous.
instantly piss off all your Eastern audience if
I
you
agree
did
with
that.
that.
Like
You- and you-
I 100%
The
agree
beautiful
with
thing
you.
You
about
got
it
the
though is
value.
that we would get it straight
You-
to Game Pass. That's the beautiful
Yeah.
thing for us.
Yeah,
It would be in
that's
Game
what you
Pass.
do.
It would be
Because-
day one. We wouldn't worry about it and
Yep.
skipping the console, and that would all be great.
Yep.
I also do think there would be some exclusives, but probably it would probably. My dream would be that it would start slow and then eventually build to being everything, but
Mhm.
realistically, that seems unlikely.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah,
probably
I-
just be like the bigger things would stay.
I think going back to what we were talking about earlier with Jim Ryan's comment about them thinking bigger and them thinking beyond the console market, because I don't know that I necessarily agree with the judge who says eventually they're going to go away. I think they're always going to remain as enthusiast products, but I do think there's going to be a point in time down the road where the mainstream might be happy with some of the other options.
Mhm.
And I think part of the game, like part of keeping the value for Game Pass high is, and it is cyclical between these games and Game Pass, because like something like that's going to give exposure for these games to a new audience, while the other audience is still paying for it, kind of subsidizing it. And also it's keeping the mind share high, because what you don't want to have happen is you buy this game, it's a big, and you're paying all this money for this IP because it's very popular, then suddenly it loses all its momentum, right? It loses all its mind share, and then it doesn't have the same impact in driving Game Pass and that whole cyclical thing ends. So I think it is like, again, this is not about Microsoft being kumbaya or being
Right.
No, that's
friendly.
just being business smart.
Yeah,
It's like
and
taking
that-
a free-to-play game and only putting it on one console.
Yeah.
It would be
Yeah.
moronic.
Yeah, it'd
Right.
be backwards.
Right.
You would be
Yep.
hurting yourself. But so speaking of Square, we had the release of Final Fantasy 16. Now, Final Fantasy 16 had been met with pretty good reviews. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
It's got an 88 meta on Metacritic with 114 reviews. I believe it's a 90, if not maybe down to an 89 or 88 on OpenCritic. And of course, it has an 8.3 user score, but I'm sure you can't really trust that, because I'm sure there's a bunch of 100s to combat the zeros that
course.
the idiots jumped in there to try to, vote the game down. People, please, by the way, to our Xbox brethren And
Don't do that
to
crap.
our Who's brothers, stop doing that.
It's
shit.
unnecessary.
It's so dumb, and they need to fix that. And they need to make it verifiable that you purchased that game and put in so many hours before you can comment. It's dumb
Yeah.
to continue doing that. It doesn't help anything. It only makes us look stupid as gamers. Stop doing that shit, please.
Like there's not enough that makes us look stupid.
Exactly. We don't need more.
We're like, we're
shit.
the internet. We got this. We can do
Yeah.
the stupid all on our own.
Right. We wake up
Hold
stupid
my beer.
Right.
proudly.
Oh my bad. Exactly.
Like, damn, stop doing that. It's so stupid. It doesn't stop anything. Like, oh, look at the user review. Like, that's not going to stop anybody from getting
It gets to a point where the user review actually means nothing.
Yeah, it does, and that's the thing. That's
Yeah,
the
it
problem.
doesn't.
It stops making.
never go by that.
It becomes meaningless after a while because you all do that. Like, stop doing that. But it's been met with an 88 meta, like I said, so it's reviewing well. I did watch Skill Up, and I watched ACG's review of it, and Skill Up pointed out that it's not really an RPG.
It's
Now,
really not.
they classify it as that, and somebody I was debating with one of our Who's brothers on Twitter, and he was like, "Well, look what the developer said. I don't care what they say. It doesn't have
Right.
any of the real systems that make it an RPG."
In practice, it's an action game with RPG elements.
Absolutely, same situation we had with Horizon Forbidden West, if you all remember. Oh, it's an RPG.
I would actually say Horizon is closer to an RPG.
It is
than-
closer. Funny enough,
Yeah.
that's the funniest part. It is closer to an RPG than this game is. But I'm not saying this to be negative, by the way, of the game.
Yeah.
I actually am loving the combat I've seen. I'm loving the boss fight I've seen. I've seen a lot of you guys sharing it on Twitter. It looks
Switch boss
really, really good as far as those things go. I did see a lot of those boring fetch quests, though. It doesn't look like, and I saw somebody was like, "Oh, the side quests are so great. It's like
Yeah.
Witcher 3 level." I was like, stop lying to yourself.
Mm.
That's not the first time I remember our good brother Gene Park claimed that for, what was that game he claimed it? It was like, you said this Witcher 3 level cut side quests. I forgot what game it was, but I knew it was a
Shit.
That was
blatant
recently,
lie.
right? Where
It
you
was
said that?
pretty
Yeah.
recent.
Like
Was
real
it-
recent.
It was
I
pretty
don't know.
recent, and I knew when I played it, I'm like, how did he get that thought? That's where you know recency bias.
Was that
and-
Ghost of Tsushima he was talking about? I
No,
can't
it was
remember.
more
something
recent than
else.
that.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
more recent. And
Yeah, it was real recent.
and when I
can't
played it, I'm
remember
like,
what the
how
hell
did
it
he
was.
come to that thought? Like, at all? Like, I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
people understand how great
We all
their
have
side
different
missions
tastes.
were. Yeah, but like, it's,
Yeah.
I love Gene.
but there's a discernible difference
Yeah,
in the quality
Gene's fine.
of Witcher
Me and his
3's
tastes are
side quests and other
wildly
games. It's,
different.
it's clear to understand how quality those were. But anyway, that set aside, just to say, I've seen some of those things. But Danny, what was your take? You played it and you got a
Yeah,
feel for
so I got to play like roughly 6 hours of it because I have a friend who works closer to my apartment than his apartment, so he bought it while he works for USPS. He picked it up while he was working and he brought it over after, and we just hung out and played it for like 6 hours.
okay, so you got a good feel for it for sure.
I got a pretty good feel for it. Here's what I'll say: it is not a bad game by any metric. I think if you look at it in the most objective way possible, like it is a game that looks good. It's a game that runs decent. Like it is a well-made game, and it's perfectly fine. I like that. There's nothing about it that is offensively bad. However, me and my friend Christian did spend the entire time that we were playing it pretty much actively laughing at it. It is so clear that they wanted desperately to be Game of Thrones that it's like the most transparent thing on the planet. Like Clive, whatever his last name is the most Jon Snow we had at home character of all time. It's genuinely embarrassing. Like he is the older brother of a princeling
Is he a bastard
who
brother?
has.
Princeling.
So here's the thing. No, but yes. He is the older brother of a young princeling who has a mysterious power, and then after that person is injured, he leaves to go join a mysterious
The wall?
group of people who wear all black and are
Oh
called
my
the
God.
Bastards.
Nuh-uh.
He also has a dog who
Get-
starts gray
Is
but
it white?
becomes more white throughout the course of the game. It seems
What?
like.
Dude, no
Really?
way.
There is a character you
Danny,
meet very early
you've got
on.
to make this comparison video on your channel.
It's
You
ludicrous.
have to do this.
Yeah.
There is a character you meet very early on who is just Hodor, Like almost every single
Well, if his
character
name was
has
really
a
just
direct
Lord, too.
parallel
You know,
in
it's
Game
fun-
of Thrones to the point where we were watching the cutscenes, because the beginning of the game is very cutscene heavy. I don't know if that opens up later.
No,
We
they
were
said it
definitely watching the
continues.
majority of the game
They
that
said
we
it continues
in the
that
6
way.
hours that we did.
Yep, they said it continues that way in the reviews.
Oh, well, that's not great. But
Oh man.
there were bits where, like, because we recognized the character that this other character was based on, we were able to predict things that were happening in the plot before they happened.
Oh wow!
Holy crap.
You know
Like,
what's-
there's a girl who
Yeah.
is just Theon Greyjoy, and I won't spoil anything, I guess, but, like, hey, guess what? Her story goes the same way as Theon Greyjoy,
Wow.
except theoretically she can't get her penis cut off. So,
Right. Wow.
you know,
They gave
there's
her the
that
old-
at
They
least.
gave her the old Amazon treatment instead. Maybe.
the old Amazon treatment. It's
know-
it's really embarrassing in that way. The combat also, it's not bad, but it is pretty boring.
You know-
It is very much that Square Enix, like, you just hit the button until the thing is dead. They've added like a dodge mechanic, which makes it
is
a little bit more
interesting.
interesting.
It's interesting you say that, right? Like, see, those types of games that you can see that they had the developer, the combat engineer from Devil May Cry games, and it's evident. Like, when I saw it, the first thing I thought, oh, that's Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
And
They
it
have all the
looks like
combos
it.
in there, but you don't actually do them.
You don't have to
just
really
hit
work
the
hard
one
to do
button, and then he does them, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
But in practice, it doesn't feel very
See,
cool.
see, Devil May Cry is different. You actually have to do button combinations.
Right.
Yeah,
versus-
Devil May
Yeah.
Cry is a
Yeah.
proper character action game.
Absolutely. Versus this, see, you have to, if you play
So
with
that's
Dante
a
and Devil May Cry,
pre-rendered thing. Like that'll always look good.
it
Yeah,
will
more or less,
always
yeah.
look good.
That would explain
Like-
why I've seen some people's gameplay and they were doing so much combat. I'm like, man.
Yeah, because the
like, they're
gameplay,
really
the
playing
combat
hard.
looked awesome to me,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
thought they were doing it.
It's
Now that's
very
disappointing.
similar.
That's interesting.
It's very similar to the fixed version of Final Fantasy 15, if that means anything to you.
Yeah.
Where it does feel like that. Enemies are very spongy, particularly bosses.
Yeah.
Now, granted, another aspect of this that needs to be pointed out is we were very early in the game, and so I know that later you get a bunch more powers and like combat probably gets more interesting.
Different swords, all
But
of that,
in the
yeah.
first like 6 hours, it was very bland.
Okay.
So I don't know.
It's interesting.
It's
you
not
say
a
Wait
that.
for
bad
a
game.
sale.
I was just like not really interested in continuing playing it, and so like I don't know. I'll borrow it from when he's done with it and see. But
Just to throw it out there, though, you said the Game
Yeah.
of Thrones references, and you mentioned that. In
they are
Skillet-
heavy.
In Skillet Reviews, he pointed that out, and he said it also ended as terribly as Game of Thrones ended. I was
I obviously don't know
I
that,
was like,
but
damn.
It's unfortunate.
That's not a
it's
good-
unfortunate
that's not
to
a
hear.
good sign.
And I
because
trust those guys. Like
despise
I'm
the
glad
ending
you
of
mentioned
Game
who
of
you
Thrones.
mentioned, Umbra, because when
Yeah.
I look for people reviewing, I go to SkillUp and ACG, and that's usually it.
Yeah, great.
Those are
great
the two
reviewers.
guys I go to.
trust them for sure because their views on games have aligned with mine a lot, especially
Mhm.
ACG. And ACG doesn't really.
ACG is my favorite.
Yeah, he's fair, but he doesn't hold his punches. If he's going to say what he's going to say, he's going to say it. It is what it is. You're going to get it bluntly.
Yep.
And you're right, Bushido. I love me some Devil May Cry games. Yeah. So, but that's the first thing I picked up on was like the combat. Like, oh man, I do want to try it because it looks like Devil May Cry. That's why I love Hi-Fi Rush so much because it had elements of a Devil May Cry combat in it, the way you
Yeah,
fight.
I do like Devil
Yeah.
May. That's
See?
the only thing that's pulling me towards it. I haven't
Yep.
been into Final Fantasy since the Final Fantasy VII on the original PlayStation's really
Me too.
It's been a while for
the only one
minute
that
for you,
really
huh?
clicked with me. Yeah,
I think
And
Bucky
then I-
O'Hare was out about that
Same
time.
here.
I think that was the first one I played.
Yeah.
I've only played Final
That's
Fantasy.
the
from
last
7
one I played
on.
too.
Yeah,
was
my
seven.
first-
The only ones I've missed are 11 and
14.
12. I played every other Final
Oh, you
Fantasy.
played 14
I,
as well?
I
Okay.
start them.
I've
and
never, I didn't
can't-
finish 14, but it's also an MMO, so I don't know if you ever can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I played a good bit of it.
I started
It's
a
fine.
bunch of them. I just can't seem to stay with them. So
Their
No,
stories
but-
are very dumb.
yeah, that's the issue. And that's why I usually lean towards Western because for
Yeah.
they just
Me
they're
too.
usually a little bit darker, a little bit more. I don't know.
I
So
think they're
you-
better written. I think that's fair to
So
say.
you never got to the point in modern, well, I say modern, in my
Yakuza Like a
lifetime Final
Dragon is
Fantasies, where pretty much every Final Fantasy game ends with you fighting like a modern art piece designed to replicate the duality of man.
Yeah.
Because that's what they look
No.
like.
That's about right.
Um,
The only Eastern RPG, the only Japanese RPG that's ever clicked with me was since Final Fantasy VII, which I did love back in the day.
Yeah.
But that's when that whole thing was brand new to me. Was Yakuza Like a Dragon. So
Love you.
outside of that one
can
though
I
has a
recommend
Western.
something?
That has a Western feel.
Well, have
to
you
it.
played Octopath Traveler, OBM?
A little bit, not much.
I put 250 hours into that game. Loved it.
Ooh.
I think Bushido, you were playing part 2, if I'm not mistaken, on PlayStation when I harassed you. briefly before getting off that
Never harass you.
cursed obelisk. But yeah, no, I do hear you on it. I do personally believe typically Western RPGs, at least to my taste, have better crafted stories, and maybe it's just that I'm attuned to that more.
I think it's a cultural like taste
could
thing.
be.
Yeah.
Most most Japanese RPGs have this weird thing where I don't know if this is like a trope or something.
Yeah.
But they have this weird thing where like you beat the main boss and then they're like, "Psych, dude, fight God,"
Yeah.
and you're like, "All right."
Fight
It's like
God
anime,
now.
dude. It's the same
You
thing.
fell for it.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Fight God.
Now
Yeah.
fight God. Yeah, like it happens in every Persona game. It happens in
Yep.
like the Dragon Quest games. Like it's
You're not
a
wrong
trope, and
either.
it gets really annoying.
You know what's funny? You say that
Um,
because Octopath Traveler is like that too. You like,
Oh, is
I
it?
beat the final boss, and then there's the secret boss. I forgot his
Right.
name, but
It's
you're
like
right.
the shadow. He's like the shadow of the guy you
Exactly.
just killed.
And
Like
he's-
I'm the
and I-
shadow
and I
man
love
version.
Demon
JRPGs
Lord
to be
God
clear.
that you have to fight, and he murders you quickly if you're not
Yep.
prepared. I was like level 80, murdered me in one hit. I'm like, come on now.
Yeah, that's what the final boss of Dragon Quest 11. I mean, spoilers, I guess. There's like a post game to Dragon Quest 11, which is one of my favorite JRPGs of the last like decade.
Yeah.
I think it came out in the last decade, probably. Anyway, the last boss of it is like, hey, there's a very specific strategy for how to beat this guy, and if you don't do that, you will be dead within like 2 turns. It's like, I don't know who this is fun for, but it ain't me.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you for sure. So the thing I'll say about Final Fantasy 16 is I will give it a try eventually, but I'm not buying it at 70. I've already said that I'm going to stick to that. I'm not in any rush to play it either. There's so
I do
many
think you'll
games to get
probably
through.
like it. Like, it's
I
not
might.
a bad game.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
might.
like
It's
the
a-
Game
it's-
of Thrones lore is so heavy in my brain that
Yeah.
I see a character and I'm like, that's Ned Stark. He'll be dead in 2 seconds, and then he is.
Oh. Yeah, and I heard a ton of the Game of Thrones references. Like people kept referring it, saying, "Oh, Game of Thrones-esque." So, and
It's not Game of Thrones. It's Game of Thrones.
It's Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's the Asian version. Yeah. Instead of hold the door, they're like, "Shigoringendo, Shigoringendo." No, sorry.
You're gonna
also-
get canceled.
As another just mild negative, because I know some people get really hung up on this. It doesn't bother me at all, but whatever. Some people get pissy about it, so I figure I'll mention it. This game also very heavily reuses animations from Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, I saw that.
Me and my friend, we have both played a decent amount of Final Fantasy 14, and there's literally characters where you're like, okay, that's the skeleton of this particular race from the game. Yes, that's the idle animation where you're like counting stuff. Like there's so much of it where it's like, this game probably cost $1 billion to make, so I completely understand why they did it.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's another one of those things where I'm like, I
never
know
bothers me.
exactly where all of this is coming from, and like that does kind of take me out of it a little bit. It doesn't, that alone wouldn't bother me, but yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I'll definitely give it a try, but it'll probably be like a Black Friday thing once it's on sale.
Yeah.
Super like $30 or something like that. Yeah, then I'll get it. But I'm not
I
getting
did
it now.
love Devil May Cry, so
See?
that
There you go.
that actually that's actually the thing that's pulling me over.
I agree. And I think
The
some of
combat is
visuals
definitely
are
not
nice.
as involved as Devil May Cry, to be clear.
Now that I know
Yeah.
that, it does take a little bit of the
That's
wind
too
out of
bad.
the sails. But I did see people like pressing one button. I think Gaz actually posted a video of him on Twitter where he was like showing like he just pressed one button to do the things he needed to do.
Daniel.
Yeah.
You wanna get a ton of attention online. He just
Not
said
usually,
about the
but
one. No. If you want to make a video, you want to get a ton of attention online, and he's talking about the one button thing. Compare it to fucking Vampire Survivors. You will piss the entire internet off. There you go. Say, look, it's just like Vampire Survivors.
It's like
I
Vampire
only
Survivor,
need a
dude.
one hand. I
Giving
only
you
need
free-
Yeah.
one
free
hand
game.
to.
He gave you
Yeah.
a free game right there. There you go. Go ahead.
Makes
And
sense. Makes sense. You're right.
No, but yeah. So listen, we got to wrap it up here because we are very much over. It didn't seem like it though. It kind of flowed really quickly, but
Yeah,
I
it
guess
went pretty good. It's a fun time.
Yeah, I guess it's because too, we had the issues at the beginning thanks to OBS. Thank you, OBS, for messing us up again. We love
Yeah,
you.
OBM, would you talk to OBS already and get
Thank
this
you.
sorted
Yeah,
out?
talk to your cousin. Sheesh.
Get
Yeah,
your boy in
together.
line.
Thank you, man. Yeah. But listen, folks, thank you all for being here with us. If you all haven't, again, please hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't, you will see your name pop up on the screen. There's a plus for you. If you're vain, don't unsubscribe and then subscribe to see your name. By the way,
Yeah, that's
don't do
rude.
that. That's
Bougie.
yeah. That's something Bushido would do. I can feel it. But thank you guys for being here with us. OBM, brother.
For sure.
What will you be up to? And, well, again, thank you for being here with us and taking the time out to be. And we went over more so than I thought we would. It's always that way, isn't it, Danny? Like,
Yeah.
it's always like, I'm thinking it's going to be kind of quick. 3 hours
We're gonna be
later.
done in an hour, and then 180 minutes later.
Exactly. And we were supposed to have Luke here with us, but he'll be with us next week. Just so you guys would know, Luke Steele, who's an acquisitions lawyer and CMA understander.
We might
understander.
have the result by then.
Absolutely.
So that might be cool.
It'll fit just perfectly for him. Yep. But OBM, brother, thank you for joining us. What would you be up to coming up? And let us know what your plans are.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for inviting me. Always, man, it's been a crazy week, so it's just sometimes therapeutic to kind of come here and shoot the shit, man, with you guys and talk about whether or not we're going to get the next Geometry Wars on Game Pass, because that's really the biggest thing out of this ABK deal.
I used to love me some Geometry Wars. Me and my sister.
Yeah, that's no slander of Geometry.
Yeah.
Wars. That's a
No,
good game.
It's literally one of my favorite games of all time.
It's awesome.
Well, the FTC can't talk about that because geometry scares them because they don't know how to do math.
Math and geometry. Not good.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. It's going to be way too much for them to figure out. But
How many sides does a square have?
I always figure out how to keep extending the show. No, if people want to find me, on Twitter, you can find me at mother_1 and MUTHA_ONE. I will be back into content creation. I've been taking my good old time, probably through some of the summer. I was at Xbox era, but I've taken a little break, and I'm going to do my own channel here soon. So keep an eye out for that. Well, I'm sure I'll be on here at some point here, Umbra, talking about it. So, and maybe I'll make some videos on AI just to get everybody to cancel me.
Absolutely. And
go.
yeah, brother, thank you again for being here. And if you all are looking to follow OBM on Twitter, he's in the description. You can find him there, as well as our next guest, Retry. Retry, brother, thank you for joining us as well. What will you be up to, and where can people find you?
I'll be up to, while I'm watching you play this, so I'm going to be playing Diablo right after this. That's what I'll be up to immediately, playing the Diablos.
Yes,
but
Diablo.
you guys can, Diablos, you can find me Game Pass _daily on Twitter and Game Pass Daily on YouTube. And this Sunday, of course, on the Gamers Council with Web Dave at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on his channel. And we'll be we'll have Bushido, so you can give him crap when he's on our show, and we'll be with 100%. And we got Kay Asante joining us as well. Hopefully some other people too, but that is up in the air right now. We're waiting to find out. And of course, we're gonna be talking about the FTC because I got a lot to say on that matter and some other stuff as well. But thanks for having me, guys. It was awesome, and the chat was really cool. I appreciate it.
Always, brother. It's like your third member, the third member, like along with MacBound in some ways.
Like I said, anytime you guys need a filler guest, I'm here for you.
Whenever we call you, you'll be.
Well, much like One Piece, that would be some
There
pretty
you
good
go.
filler.
Let me stop before I start singing.
Don't. You're gonna make me not watch one. Nah, I'm watching it. Oh, yeah, I'm already in. I'm in.
Yeah. And Daniel, my great,
Joe.
excellent co-host, Daniel McGee.
Thank you.
Where can everybody find you, brother, and what will you be up to?
Right here, nowhere else. Just kidding. You can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McGee or at my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McGee. I, much like OBM, have been taking a break from content on accident, largely. So hopefully I'll be putting out content pretty soon. I've got a lot of stuff in the works, so hopefully that comes together pretty soon. But you can find me over there, or you can find me and Umbra and Retry on the Xbox Factor podcast every Tuesday morning at 11 Central, 12 Eastern, where we will be talking about whatever happens. I don't know. It's going to be a good time. Thanks for coming, y'all.
Yes, sir.
I love
and for myself, you all can find me on Twitter, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You will find me either way. Of course, here on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern. Next week, like I said, we're trying to have Luke Steele with us. And I'm trying to see if maybe another guest on top of that. I'm going to see what I can find and who I can talk with. But we, as Boba pointed out in the chat, we might get a decision as early as Wednesday. So that would be perfect if we did.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's weird. Why did we hear the 12th? Why are we hearing Wednesday now too?
I think so. The 12th was no. So the lawyers on both sides have to turn something in by tomorrow at 5.
Right.
But those versions are sealed. The public versions of those things are not due. So like the redacted versions, assuming they actually do it correctly this time, those are not due until the 12th. That's my understanding.
okay.
I'm not a lawyer.
I gotcha.
That's all.
So
That's
not
what I
not the
think.
actual
I've
decision, just the redaction or
Yeah.
the paperwork.
Yeah, I don't know how long
essentially.
the decision's going to take. To be honest, it seems like she. I don't know,
Felt,
she
felt
seemed,
like it's felt pretty done to me.
Yeah, it seemed like she kind of knew what she was doing, at least or not what she was doing, but like what her mind was about. At least the console side of it, the cloud side of it. I don't know. We'll see. I do have some trepidations. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited and
the
terrified.
console side, it looks like it's a done deal as far as that goes. We'll see the cloud situation. I don't know, but
Yeah.
If you can, Umbra, before we go out, if you can listen to the end of it, their closing arguments, you're definitely going to feel like this judge is siding with Microsoft. At least
I
that's how
thought she was
felt.
in general. I thought like throughout, like
It's-
even hearing her
it's-
point out that we're not doing
feels-
this for Sony. We're talking about the consumer. She sounded like a reasonable person to me.
She
Let's
is.
just
It's very
follow
logical.
Warren. We all thought we all thought when they threw the console thing out with the CMA that was a done deal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
you're
much.
you're
Weird-
right, but I didn't get
weird
to
time.
hear
No.
the personality and the questions and the
Yeah.
back and forth, and I heard that.
And the
I've
tone
heard
and all
like
of that.
30 hours of it with this
True.
woman,
Yeah,
so I
not-
feel different.
Not
You know what I
not to extend the show, but I do think the console concern is dead, and the cloud should not even be a thing because the whole idea of doing this injunction is to stop immediate threats. So we're going to talk about nascent markets; they don't fit, so it shouldn't. But we've seen some weird shit happen over the last few years. You know,
You're not
so-
wrong.
Yeah.
It is people. It's there's people that are making these decisions. People are biased. People are stupid. So, but I got faith in this one.
Oh
so.
my god, I want to have faith in the judge, but there was so much, and the closing arguments were the thing that really tipped me over, where it was just like there is so much that these people just do not understand. All of them,
Yes.
on the Microsoft side,
Yes.
on the FTC side, just do not understand about video games on a fundamental level. And it was like, hey, do any of you have like a kid that you can bring in to be like, hey, by the way, hey,
This is
is
why I won't
Elder
play Call of
Scrolls the
Duty.
same as Call of Duty? Yeah,
Right.
no.
Like,
Exactly.
bring in a kid to tell him why you won't play Call of Duty with latency. You know,
Yeah,
like,
or why if Xbox had a different skin for a gun, you wouldn't sell your PlayStation and buy an Xbox because that's just not a thing people do.
Right.
Mhm.
So again, guys, thank you all for being here. What's up, AJH? Some of you all got here late. You all need to start showing up on time, AJH.
Yeah, or today,
How
like
you
10
gonna
minutes
call?
after.
How you gonna call out your audience like that?
We even went extra late. We went extra
Yeah,
late.
we were waiting for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I
You
still,
bet.
I fought
We were
AJH.
waiting
for-
3
Or
hours.
are you
That's right.
AJH?
Talk to the
Three
CMA
hours.
over there too.
Oh, there
If
you
You
live
and
in
your
order
father
over
were
there.
worried sick.
Yeah. And you just showing up
grounded.
now? You're grounded, AJH. No more biscuits or chips, as you all call them over there, or whatever.
Chips.
Yeah. No fish and chips for you. No, but thank you everybody for being here with us. Again, if you haven't done so, hit the like button. Again, you can find me, Infinite Umbra, or Umbra Infinite on Twitter. And here on Thursdays at 8 o'clock, and of course with Danny. What's up, Yobi? Here on Tuesdays, of course, with Boom and Xbox Factor with myself, Retri, and Danny. And on tomorrow, Xbox Infinite podcast with myself, Risk It for the Biscuit, Jedi Knight Peter, and Doom Cutie. Should be a good show tomorrow as well. Thank you, everybody. We're going to get out of here. We will talk with you all later.